What's going on, world? I'm C Moody here with
D Moody.
And this is Sports Moves, 2 Moodies.
1 Duty.
Sports. But before we get into it tonight, I just wanted to have a moment of silence reflecting on this weekend's tragic shooting, taking over 58 people's lives and injuring, I want to say, over 200 people. Just a horrible event. I have to say one of the worst occurrences of terrorism by one person. It's just another horrible tragedy in our America today. So I just wanted to have a moment of silence. Thank you. So this week, we are going to recap week 4 in the NFL, get into some college sports. Then we're going to dive into WWE, get ready for this Sunday's Hell in a Cell pay-per-view, do some in other sports, whatever we got across the board, and then end with week 5's NFL predictions. We are Sports Moods, 2 Moodies,
1 Duty.
Sports. Let's go. What is going on, world? C Moody.
D Moody.
We are Sports Moods. We're going to go ahead and kick off the show, diving into the NFL as we recap week 4. And before we start going on to the scores and the teams and what we predicted on, just going on with the record if anybody's keeping score so far in this season of our predictions. I am currently up, C Moody, 29-18. While D Moody is coming right behind me at 25-22. So, let's dive into the first game, which was Thursday Night Football, and it was the Bears versus the Packers. You have any reflections on that? Both of us predicted it correctly. It was going to be a win.
Yeah, it went pretty much the way I thought it would go. Pretty much Aaron Rodgers and the Packers pretty much did what I thought they would do. Chicago's got some issues going on right now with their team. I know they made a change at quarterback this week where they're going to start Trubisky and they're going to pretty much bench Mike Glennon. So that's going to be on Monday Night Football next week. We'll see how Trubisky's, in his first start is going to go. But overall, Aaron Rodgers had a great night. I think the Bears won that one. The Packers won that one 35-14. Mm-hmm. It was a lot of kind of injuries in that game for Green Bay. I know Devontae Adams was knocked out of that game after a big hit from a Bears defender. A lot of people thought that should have been a hit that maybe a suspension or something should have been warranted for with a head-to-head collision. But Devontae Adams is doing a lot better. Not sure if he'll start this week coming up against Dallas, but he's one of their big targets with the football along with Jordy Nelson. But the game went the way exactly I thought it would go. I thought the Bears would turn the ball over as much as they did. I think in the game they had a delay or something because of the rain, some kind of lightning strike or something. But still in the end, Green Bay still pulled it out.
Definitely. Like I said, with the turnovers, Mike Glennon did have over 218 yards, but he did have 2 interceptions along with his 1 touchdown. Aaron Rodgers continued to have a great day, even with not that many passing yards. He only had 179 passing yards, but still was able to get 4 touchdowns. And like he's spoken on Jordy Nelson, he did have 75 yards and 4 receptions. 2 of those receptions equaling the touchdowns.
Yeah, and I think the reason why you didn't really see a lot of yards from Aaron Rodgers in this game was because a lot of those possessions were on short fields, because Chicago fumbling the football, interception.
Right.
So he didn't have to go the length of the field to really get quick scores. They were starting a lot of those drives in their own territory where they were like 30 or 40 yards away from the end zone. And, when you give Aaron Rodgers that short of a field, on that many turnovers, giving him that many opportunities with the football, he's going to, put it in the end zone.
Definitely. The next game I'm going to get into is one I am proud to announce. The Rams taking the win over the Cowboys, 35-30. You hitting the bat?
No, I want to give him some applause.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You always suspecting the negative, man.
I don't know, man. I've heard a lot of bad jabs from you, so I don't know what to expect. But, yeah, man, I'm definitely proud of my Rams for this game. Since I'm going ahead and do this, I'm going to go ahead and announce some of these stats. Jared Goff had a great game, 21 out of 36 with 256 yards and 2 touchdowns. Todd Gurley had a really good game in 23 carries. He got 121 yards rushing, and in 7 receptions, he had 94 yards with 1 touchdown. And that 1 touchdown he had was when they took the lead in the late third quarter with a 53-yard pass to Gurley, which made the score 26-24, and they held that for the W. Not to mention their kicker, Greg Zuerlein, had a career-high 7 field goals.
I saw that. That was huge. And a lot of people say, well, they didn't finish drives, but I'm like, points are points.
Right.
As long as you have more points than the other team at the end of the game, that's all that matters.
Definitely.
And that one of those field goals turned out to be the difference.
Yeah.
Because I think it was, 32-30 at one point, and then he hit the field goal to put them up 5, so that makes Dallas have to score to win if they wanted to, yeah.
Definitely. But the Cowboys did have a pretty good game. Dak Prescott did develop 252 passing yards and 3 touchdowns, but had 1 interception. Ezekiel Elliott also had 85 yards and 1 touchdown and 21 carries, and Dez Bryant had 98 yards and 5 receptions. So it was still a good game both ways, but like you said, my boys pulled it out, man. So
they did. Now, a lot of the Rams are shocking a lot of people right now. They're 3-1 right now. I didn't see a 3-1 start. I will be the first to say that I didn't. But I really like what this young coach Sean McVay is doing with this team. Jared Goff has really put together some really good games over the first couple of weeks of the season. Todd Gurley has re-submerged from after his down year last year. He's kind of among the top running backs in the league right now.
Definitely.
And he's showing it each and every week. I was very surprised. I thought Dallas would win this game. Virtue of being at home, with Prescott and Elliott. I didn't think the Rams defense could really stop what Dallas would do offensively. But, it was kind of a back and forth game. It was kind of a shootout style game. And then those 7 field goals by Zuerlein, that's amazing.
Difference.
We see so many kickers come in so many situations. We've seen so many games won and decided by field goals.
Yeah.
And, to come out 7 times and then knock each one of them through, that's huge. And a lot of people don't give the kickers a lot of credit, but they can really determine whether or not you win or lose a game. Just ask Adam Vinatieri. We wouldn't have the Super Bowls, 2 of the 5 that we have, without his leg.
Yeah.
So they are very important in those special situations.
This reminded me, one of those 2 was definitely against the Rams.
Yeah, remember how those 7 seconds just
let's not do that.
Down. I know you had an issue with them running the time down after that made field goal.
And they didn't make it a rule until after that year, so they knew they was wrong. But anyway, that was the game. That's what happened. But speaking of the Patriots, that's the next game I'm going to get into. It was a good game between the Panthers and the Patriots, but the Panthers did pull it out 33-30. Cam Newton had a real good game. He had 306 yards passing and 22 out of 29 passing completions, 3 touchdowns, but 1 interception. Cameron Benjamin, he had 4 receptions, 104 yards. And I don't know his first name. I don't want to just say. I remember you saying you don't like just saying the last name, but Gano, the kicker.
Gostowski.
Gostowski?
Yeah.
Gano?
Yeah.
Had a 48-yard field goal for the win to seal it.
No. The Gostowski's our kicker.
No, well, who won? Gano. What's his first name?
Yeah, Graham Gano.
Graham Gano. Okay.
I thought you were talking about Gostowski.
Yeah. No. He didn't win the game.
Yeah. Obviously.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say it like that. But Tom Brady did have.
Raise your Rams.
Yeah.
You throw jabs at me.
Tom Brady had a good game, though. He had 32 for 45, 307 yards, passing with 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Rob Gronkowski had a pretty good game as well, 4 receptions for 80 yards. I don't know. I mean, I think it was just a good back and forth game. I don't know why I decided to go with the Panthers, but I felt like I just felt like they were going to pull it out on this game.
I felt Carolina would play New England really great. I mean, because like I always told you, it seems like the Patriots is always going to get, no matter what team they're playing, they always get that team's best game.
Yeah.
We saw Houston give us a game. We saw Kansas City give us a game, and now same thing here at Carolina. Really, right now, I'm the biggest Patriots fan you ever want to meet, but right now we have some defensive issues right now. We're giving up 32 points a game. We're giving up over almost 450 yards of total offense to our opponents that we're facing. We're ranked 31st in total defense right now. And in each quarterback we faced this year, we've given up 300 yards passing to all of those quarterbacks.
Wow.
So we've had it's only so much Tom Brady can do to cover up those defensive issues that we have. I mean, the Patriots offense, they continue to score points. I mean, we saw in the first game they scored 27 but gave up 42. Then to the Texans last week, that game could have went either way. So we could really be sitting here at 1-3 as opposed to 2-2.
Right.
Because we just slipped by Houston last week and then lost a close one here to Carolina. It's just some defensive issues going on right now. We're giving up a lot of big plays through the passing game, and I think our pass rush is not as good as it needs to be in terms of getting pressure on the quarterback to get sacks. We're not taking the ball away enough as we normally do. And then, as opposed to giving up 32 points this year where we only gave up 15.5 last year. So we're almost doubling the point total what we did last year versus this year. So it's some big issues going on right now for the Patriots. And then on top of that, on a short week, playing tomorrow night, Thursday night football at Tampa Bay, traveling on the road. So I'm not even sure how it's going to go tomorrow night either.
Yeah, definitely, man. But, I mean, to me, honestly, like you say, I know how against the Patriots I can be, but honestly, I have to be humble in saying that, I don't sense any panic from the Patriots.
Not time to panic. It's just the thing of
we got some stuff to
work on. And then when you look at the AFC East standings, to see Buffalo and New York Jets ahead of us, that's not how it is. I think we've won the division 14 out of the last 16 years.
Wow.
So we've pretty much owned that division. And it's still early, but I mean, you got to give credit to Tom Brady. They were down 14 points in that fourth quarter, and to bring them back, I really do feel like if he got the ball back one more time,
definitely,
he would have drove them down, and they possibly could have won that game. But Cam and the Panthers did what they need to do, not taking anything away from them. They ran a good offense. He did some good things, throwing the ball, and then at the end to close the game out to make sure the Patriots didn't have any time left, because obviously with Tom Brady,
right,
there's always a chance you never can count that guy out. But 2-2 right now. Just got some defensive stuff we need to work on for sure.
Definitely, man. What's the next game you got? You want to go ahead and talk about?
This game took place in London. The New Orleans Saints versus the Miami Dolphins. Both of us took New Orleans in this game. Yeah. They think the final score was 20-0.
A shutout.
Shutout victory for the Saints. I mean, Miami, I actually thought we'd see some good stuff from this team this year.
Their first game was very convincing.
Very, very convincing, but then over the past 2 weeks, against the Jets, against the Saints. And I saw a funny meme this week with Jay Cutler. He was like, well, I tried to retire. Like, they had him with like a cigarette in his mouth. And he was like, well, don't complain about the way I'm playing because I tried to retire. So pretty much he's basically saying the Dolphins recruited me. Like, I was done with football. But, that was a funny meme. But, I mean, the Saints pretty much did what they need to do and handled their business, man, and shut them out. What do you think?
Definitely, man. Like you said, I don't know. The Dolphins are kind of disappointing. I saw a lot of promise in them from their first game win. I thought maybe they would be a little bit stronger. Even last week, I didn't feel like they were, going to be that bad of a team. But to get shut out, that just shows that they're...
And I thought by Adam Gase and Jay Cutler coming back together, because he was Jay Cutler's offensive coordinator in Chicago when Cutler was there, so he knows Jay Cutler really well. They worked together, and for him to come to Miami, I thought they would run some similar stuff there. They really do have some really good receivers, and Devontae Parker and Jarvis Landry, and Kenny Stills, but it just doesn't seem like it's really working out right now for the Dolphins.
Yeah, Jay Cutler had a moderate night. He did go 20 for 28, 164 yards, but the only thing he got out of that was an interception. Drew Brees had a good night, 29 of 41, 268 yards and 2 touchdowns. And Mike Thomas had 8 receptions for 89 yards and 1 touchdown.
So we got the Saints evening up at 2-2 after the 0-2 start. And I think the Dolphins are now, 1-2 at the moment right now. Next game I had, which was surprising for me, the Buffalo Bills versus the Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah.
They beat Atlanta on the road. The final score was
23-17.
23-17. Very shocked. I know Atlanta had some injuries in this game. I think Julio left the game with some type of injury, and then I think their other receiver, Mohamed Sanu, left with an injury. So that's 2 of Matt Ryan's primary targets to throw the ball to, not available to him. So it really kind of goes to show you, once you take, those big playmakers off the field, what Atlanta would look like without, Julio. We know Julio Jones arguably top 5, top 3 receiver in the league. So this guy can definitely stretch the field on the deep ball and everything in between. But Buffalo, right now, they're the number 1 ranked defense in the league in terms of points allowed per game.
That's crazy.
So they're only giving up 13 points a game. How long will this last? I don't know. They're 3-1. They're leading the AFC East Division. What do you think?
I don't know, man. I do think the Bills has kind of been really growing pretty well in these last couple years. I have to say that, like you said, this game shocked me as well. Both of us did actually go for the Falcons to win. And maybe it's starting to show that the Bills are, really more developed than we kind of take them as. I saw something else I think it was on ESPN, and it was like just how the people there, the analysts there, always bet against the Bills in their last few wins, and they would respond with a meme saying that, we're tired. This is another week we had to show y'all that show y'all up for betting against us.
And they beat some Atlanta and Denver.
Yeah.
2 really good teams right now early in the season. So, 3-1, it's a good start for them. I just want to know, over the course of the season, will they continue to play the way they are going to play? Obviously, we know they still have to play the Patriots twice in that division. But so far, so good for the Buffalo Bills at this point. Going into Atlanta, beating the Falcons, they went into this game 3-0, but now suffer their first loss of the season.
One of the last 2 undefeated teams, man. Tyrod Taylor had a good game, 182 yards and 1 touchdown in just 12 out of 20. Charles Clay had 5 receptions for 112 yards. LaShawn McCoy had 20 carries for 76 yards. On the other end of the ball, Matt Ryan had 24 for 42 for 242 yards, 1 touchdown, but 2 interceptions. And back to the Bills, Stephen Hauschka had 2 field goals, one being 56 yards and the other 55 yards. That helped take the lead and seal the win for the Bills. So, definitely a good game by them.
Next game I have on here is Pittsburgh versus Baltimore. They beat the Ravens 26-9, so now the Ravens are 2-2. The Steelers are 3-1. Did have a little bit of controversy with this game after the fact. I think Antonio Brown had a blow up earlier this week, Sunday, and then it kind of boiled over into this week about Ben Roethlisberger missing him on an open pass.
I saw that.
Went on the sideline, had a little temper tantrum, tossed the Gatorade cooler. He was definitely in a bad mood for sure.
Definitely.
So hopefully things have cleared out there. Ben Roethlisberger did speak out on it. He just didn't really agree with the temper tantrum type thing. He just felt like Antonio Brown, hey, you can come to me, talk to me about it. Let's try to figure out what happened on that play for me to see why I didn't see that you were open. and try to work it from that angle.
Definitely. It kind of shows that, it gives us a reminder that these are kind of young kids. Just how he acted. And like you said, Ben Roethlisberger being in the league for as many years, he's definitely over a decade, I want to say. So, I mean, yeah, you gotta mature in that situation. I understand the hype of wanting the ball, especially when you are wide open, because I did see the play that he blew up about, and he was pretty wide open. But at the same time, it's not just about you and your stats. So I don't think Ben Roethlisberger wants to win just as much as you want to catch the ball and score the touchdown. So definitely have to calm down about that. But still, I didn't expect this game to be as lopsided as it turned out to be. I like to see the little battles between the Steelers and Ravens as of old days, but it looks like the Steelers are evolving more than the Ravens.
I told you, don't trust Flacco, man. Do not put your stock in Joe Flacco.
It's pretty disappointing.
He's an average quarterback. He's good at what he does, but when it comes to like regular season wins and losses, he's always been that kind of quarterback that's just been up and down, up and down.
It's disappointing to see, man. But Ben Roethlisberger had a good game, 216 yards and 18 completions, 1 touchdown, even with 1 interception. Le'Veon Bell had 35 carries for 144 yards with 2 touchdowns. And what else did we have?
Yeah, Le'Veon had a nice little show, and I told you eventually, he would have to show up, and he did. He definitely showed up for him this week against the Ravens. Maybe it's because it is against, the rival Ravens. You want to have a good matchup against those guys, but he did what he needed to do.
Definitely, and they actually started breaking away in the second quarter, scoring 16 points, and pretty much was a definite seal from that point. Joe Flacco did have an okay game, 235 yards, going 31 for 49, 1 touchdown, but 2 interceptions. So it's been a lot of quarterbacks throwing multiple interceptions this year. Seems like it's been throwing more interceptions than the usual amount, I would say. But still, I just was a disappointing effort. I guess, you really can't put your faith in Joe Flacco. Unfortunately, it's sad to see, man. I actually like the Ravens, and I like watching those two battle it out. It always used to be good games. My mother-in-law, she's a big Steelers fan, and I like to side with the Ravens just to kind of get her blood boiling whenever that game goes on. But I definitely did not try to talk any smack to her this game. So the next game I'm gonna get into is Cincinnati Bengals beating the Cleveland Browns, which was pretty much unanimous for both of us going with the side of the Bengals, and they won in pretty convincing fashion, 31-7. Andy Dalton had a good game and went 25 of 30, only missing 5 passes, 286 yards, and 4 touchdowns. And Tyler Kraft had a good game as well, 6 receptions, 68 yards, and 2 touchdowns. D Moody, what you got on that?
Oh, we both picked Cincinnati. Finally, it's the first time this season Cincinnati comes through for me on a pick. But I kind of figured it would be a lopsided game. This is probably the game that they needed. It came at the right time, in terms of the schedule for the Bengals. Hopefully they can try to build some momentum off of this and try to, rally off a couple of wins to try to get back in the conversation of things in the AFC and in the AFC North division. But it's Cleveland, though, so I can't really give you a lot of stock on a win like that. So, you're supposed to be Cleveland.
Right.
But we'll see as it continues onward. I still don't think Marvin Lewis will finish out the season. At least I'm not rooting for it anyway. But, this win keeps his job for another week, hopefully.
And you know what? I was just going to say that because I know you talked about, the stock of Marvin Lewis as a coach. But here's a stat on the Browns coach. In the 2 seasons with Hugh Jackson, the Browns have went 1-19.
He's got to go. He should have been going at 1-10.
Right.
1-8. 1-6. 1 in anything. Yeah. You got to go.
Yeah.
And they're both African American coaches, and I love to see African American head coaches in the league. But at the end of the day, you're not producing wins, and you're not moving the franchise forward. Right. You have to go. How long does it take to go? What he's got to go 1-30 before you pull the plug on that?
Exactly.
You got to go.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. And then actually, Hugh Jackson was the I want to say he was a coordinator for Cincinnati. He left Cincinnati to go coach Cleveland. And, he was on that Cincinnati staff with Marvin Lewis. So I'm a big fan of seeing African-American, head coaches and things of that sort. I know we got him at Cincinnati. At Cleveland, we got Marvin Lewis in Cincinnati. And then you got the San Diego Chargers as an African-American coach, and the Denver Broncos has an African-American coach as well. Okay. And so does the Detroit Lions. So just a few teams out there. But when you're not winning games, you got to go.
Yeah.
I know it's Cleveland. It's hard to win there, but 1-19.
1-19.
You've had coaches actually win games and, win more than one game over a course of 2 seasons and make the playoffs and still get fired. So, I saw Lovie Smith down in Tampa Bay lose his job after, he did some good things there. And then even his last year in Chicago, he went 10-6 and still lost his job.
And still lost his job. That's ridiculous. Yeah. So for him to have 1-19 and still be there with it doesn't look like any indication of changing, it's pretty ridiculous in comparison.
For sure.
So the next game, which was when I saw it, I definitely was like, this is like a high school game blowout.
I thought it was a college football game for a minute.
The Houston Texans demolishing the Tennessee Titans 57-14. Now, even though I sided with the Texans on this game, I did not see this win coming this dramatically.
Yeah, I didn't either.
It was just amazing. Deshaun Watson definitely established himself as an NFL quarterback this game to me. He went 25 of 34, 283 yards, 4 touchdowns, even in spite of having 1 interception. The score doesn't acknowledge that 1 interception at all. Mm-hmm. DeAndre Hopkins had 10 receptions for 107 yards and 1 touchdown. And even defender Dylan Cole had a 25-yard interception for a touchdown, just to add on to this score that ran away pretty quick. Now, on the Titans side, Marcus Mariota tried to do what he can do. Mm-hmm. So it actually give me a little bit more confidence in him as a quarterback, even though he did go 6 of 10, 96 yards with 2 interceptions. He still pulled out 2 touchdowns on his feet with 4 carries for 39 yards. And I felt like that in its own is just showing that the heart that he had even in the midst of this blowout. Mm-hmm. And even though his passing was failing him dramatically, he still showed the athleticism of him being able to get 2 touchdowns out of it. So
yeah, and I'm still hearing that the Titans may try to sign quarterback Brandon Weeden to relieve Mariota, to kind of see how this injury thing is going to play out for him. We know Brandon Weeden was drafted by the Cleveland Browns. He had a little small stint there with them, and then he was back up in Dallas for a little while, and now possibly going to be the guy in Tennessee for a couple weeks, depending on how long Mariota, this situation is going to go with him. But right. I didn't definitely see Watson doing the things that he's been doing thus far. He's doing really well right now. Definitely last week was a shocker to me how well he went toe-to-toe with Tom Brady.
Yeah.
And then to come this week and win the way that he did. And then I saw the Texans get Will Fuller back at wide receiver, so that's just another weapon for him to throw the football to, along with DeAndre Hopkins. So Houston's got some good things going on right now. Their defense is still one among the most feared in the league. So they got a nice little nucleus of stuff going on there. If they can just put it all together and be consistent, this could be a headache of a team for a lot of people.
Yeah, definitely, man. I don't know. I don't know how far I would say them going so far, but they're starting to really establish themselves. So,
they are.
Like you said, it's really going to, in the future, we're going to see a lot more things and probably a better front and definitely some playoff contention from them coming pretty soon.
Mm-hmm.
So, the next game I want to get into, another game I can say I'm proud of voting for, and I'm glad you sided with me on, is the Detroit Lions pulling out in this defensive battle against the Minnesota Vikings. Are you ready? You're not ready yet?
I'm not believing in Matthew. I'm not believing in Matthew.
Even though he didn't have a great game.
The only Matthew I believe in is in the book of Matthew.
Look, I can't argue right there.
I do not believe in Matthew Stafford.
Come on, man. Look, he had a decent game, 19 of 31, but he did pull out 209 yards, even though he didn't have a touchdown, but no interceptions. Right in the middle. Abdullah had 20 carries for 94 yards and 1 touchdown, but like I said, this was a defensive game. The Lions defense pulled 2 sacks, 4 hurries, 1 fumble recovery, all in all having 3 forced turnovers.
I mean, defense came to play. That goes to show you that shows that they can win in spite of Matthew. So that's good.
Yeah.
It's not all on him to be the determining factor of whether they're going to win or lose. That, hey, the defense can come to play too,
right,
and win games too.
But they believe in Matthew, though.
I don't think they did. I said, we need to get some stops and take this ball away because Matthew ain't looking too hot today.
I mean, he got 200 yards, though. He got 200 yards out of the game.
You know, we're used to seeing Detroit put points up on the board, man.
That's true.
But, I mean, sometimes it depends on who you play. Like, that's why every matchup in the NFL is unique because you never know, what kind of game you're going to have. So you can't always go out every week and expect to play the same. You have to kind of game plan for who you're playing against.
Definitely. But the Lions are now 3-1. The Minnesota Vikings are now 2-2.
We both went with Detroit on this, right?
Both went with Detroit.
So I believed in the Lions, but I didn't believe in Matthew.
You didn't believe in Matthew.
And Matthew wasn't the reason why they won, so I can live with that.
Touche.
Next game I have the surprise New York Jets, after losing 2 straight to open up the season, now have rallied off 2 straight wins, beating the Jacksonville Jaguars, who I thought, both me and C Moody thought, the way Jacksonville pummeled the Ravens last week, we thought the Jets would be a piece of cake.
Right.
But I guess not.
Yeah.
Gang Green had some other plans, and you got some stats over there to...
Definitely, man. Josh McCown, he went 22 for 31, 224 yards, even with 1 interception. Brandon Powell, 21 carries, 163 yards, and 1 touchdown. And, like I said, this was a close game. It went into overtime. And I know I'm about to mess his name up, but Chandler Catanzaro.
There you go.
I was almost there.
Said it right.
41-yard field goal to seal the win in overtime, man. So it was a good win for the Jets. Like you said, I didn't expect for them to win, especially for Jacksonville to suffer against them after dominating the Ravens. But like you said in the last game, that shows how every game is unique in the NFL. It's hard to game plan for over 31 other teams, so you can't win them all, basically, I guess you would say.
Yeah. And the Jets are 2-2, and right now, statistically, in the play of things in the AFC East, they are in second place. They're over my Patriots right now.
Wow, that's weird. That's weird.
They're 2-2, and we're 2-2, sitting at number 3 in an awkward position right now.
Yeah,
but check back with me after Thanksgiving, and they will know for sure what the real AFC is supposed to look like.
I'm with you on that one now. The Jaguars did have a pretty good scoring bout themselves to win. Blake Bortles went 15 for 35, 140 yards, 1 touchdown, but 1 interception. And Leonard Fournette had a good game, 24 carries for 86 yards and 4 receptions for 59 yards receiving with 1 touchdown. So it was a good showing for the Jaguars. Like we said, it was a close game going into OT, but the Jets just managed to pull it out, 2 wins in 2 weeks.
Yeah. So they ended out the month of September pretty strong after the rough start. Next game I have is the 49ers versus the Arizona Cardinals, who just edged by the 49ers here.
Another game in overtime.
Another overtime game for the Cardinals to win. I think the Cardinals now are 2-2 on the season?
Yep.
2-2 on the season. Both of their wins coming in overtime. One versus the Colts and one versus the 49ers here. The Cardinals are just, doing just enough to keep pace, I would say. Definitely a big loss with David Johnson the first game of the season. But they're still trying to win in spite of him. Larry Fitzgerald is still a dependable, reliable target. But, Arizona's in that tough NFC West out there where the Rams, they decided they wanted to show up and play football this year. So they're not the pushover of the division anymore.
Yeah.
And then you got Seattle right above them. And so they're on the bottom kind of looking up in third place, and then we got the Niners at 0-4. What did you think about this game?
Oh man, I thought it was a good game, and like you said, Larry Fitzgerald just showed why he's going to be one of the greatest hands of all time. Going on the stats, I mean, Jerry Brown had a good receiving game, 8 receptions for 105 yards. And Carson Palmer had a good game passing, 33 for 51, but 357 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, and that's 1 touchdown was to seal the game in overtime. The 19-yard touchdown pass, an amazing catch by Larry Fitzgerald to seal that win. So, like you said, Larry Fitzgerald is just one of the greatest active players we have right now. Not even just as being fun, like a spectacular catcher, but just being a clutch person.
He's very fundamental. You know what you're going to get from him. And his production is always going to be there. I don't think he's missed a lot of games in his career, so he's been a thoroughbred of an athlete. But what about these 49ers? They hung tough with you guys, and they hung tough with the Cardinals. It kind of goes either way. They could be at 2-2 as well instead of 0-4. But I mean, just that's the thing in the National Football League. You just have to close games. You got to finish games, and they left a couple of opportunities on the table in September, while they're sitting at 0-4 instead of a possible 2-2.
Yeah, definitely.
What's the next game on there for you?
The next game I have is the Philadelphia Eagles pulling it out against the LA Chargers. Both of us did go with the Eagles on this, and they did win 26-24. Carson Wentz had a good game, going 17 of 31, 242 yards with 1 touchdown. LeGarrette Blount, 16 carries for 136 yards. And Zach Ertz had 5 receptions for 81 yards. What did you think of this game?
Man, the Chargers, man.
It's really disappointing.
This will be the best 0-4 team you'll ever want to play.
Yeah.
Because usually when you think of 0-4, like, that's, the
Jets.
Yeah, pretty much we'll beat them. We'll get past them. The Chargers make it tough. Again, I mean, they just had a lot of, just kind of like we were saying with the 49ers, I mean, a lot of opportunities left out there in close endings of the games, field goal situations. I mean, we saw in your game with the Rams 7 out of 7.
Yeah.
Imagine if a kicker makes one of those field goals, we're maybe at 1-3 or 2-2 or whatever. But 0-4 is a rough way to start that division. We've got some really good teams in that AFC West division. Looking at Kansas City, what they're doing. Looking at Denver, what they're doing, and the Raiders. So it's an uphill battle for the Chargers at this point. And for the Eagles right now, with the lead in the NFC East, I mean, 3-1 right now is their record. Leading the East, so a good start for Carson Wentz in his second year, really seeming to develop and show us what he's made of over time. So Phillies is one of those dangerous teams right now in the NFC that could present some problems down the schedule for a lot of teams.
Yeah, definitely. It's funny. This is 3 of the 4 winless teams, the LA Chargers. But like you say, of those 4, that's probably, like you said, one of the better teams. But still, you can't sleep on the Chargers. They're always going to be something. And even in this game, they almost made a comeback in this game. They were just a couple of minutes short or just late at getting the chemistry to rally up and win in this one. So there was always a good seasonal team, the Chargers are. They just haven't put that final component.
Possibly if they hit a little streak, they could be a spoiler for other teams trying to clinch playoff berths. And because usually those are the hardest teams to beat, the teams that don't have anything to play for.
Right.
But you would think they're not going to just tank their season. They're still going to play hard because they know that they could possibly throw a monkey wrench in a situation for another team who's trying to make the wild card or, win a division or whatever. They could be,
that's pretty much
a lot to deal with later in the year.
Yeah, that's pretty much the last thing they have left. Like you said, if they don't have a playoff shot, the best thing they can say out of their season is to say, "Hey, I stopped this person from getting there." So, like you said, that's one of the last things they have to play for at that point of the year. So,
well, I'll let you go. Well, next game I have on tap there, another tough situation. New York Giants versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Me and C Moody both went with Giants on this. Giants didn't win. Buccaneers did. Jameis Winston had an awesome day. Again, another loss for the Giants, 0-4 on the season in a tight, just like the Chargers, in an uphill battle for the rest of the year, especially looking up in that NFC East division. When above you, you have Dallas, you have Washington, you have Philly.
Yeah.
So, Giants got to turn around. This is a really good team. I don't understand why this team is at 0-4 right now. I don't get it. I don't understand. They have a lot of, good players at certain positions, but I just don't understand why they are underachieving the way that they are.
And it's funny to think about it. They have really Odell Beckham is pretty much like the televised face of the NFL right now, and he's a part of a winless team in the NFL season. So it's pretty bad. It's a bad look for them, especially considering the exposure OBJ is getting. But like you said, they're a good team, man. Eli Manning had a good game, 288 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Even OBJ had a pretty good game, 9 yards receiving 7 receptions for 90 yards receiving. Mm-hmm. So they both had a good game, but it just wasn't enough to topple over the Bucs. Like you said, Jameis Winston had a good game, 22 for 38, 332 yards receiving, 3 touchdowns. Cameron Brate, I had to make sure I said his name right, 4 receptions for 80 yards, 1 touchdown. And Nick Folk hit a 34-yard field goal to seal the win for the Bucs. So
now the Bucs will take that momentum to Thursday Night Football and play against the New England Patriots at home. I still kind of on the fence on how that's going to go, but I do know I wouldn't want to face a Bill Belichick team coming off of a loss. But It is a short week that could play to the advantage for the Bucs. But either way, still a good win for them. So they're sitting at 2-1 right now, and the Giants are 0-4.
0-4, the last 0-4 team in the league right now.
Yep. Next game we have is the Broncos versus the Raiders. Tough situation for the Raiders the past couple of weeks, and it gets even worse now with Derek Carr going down with the back injury. We do know his situation last year with the broken leg, missing, just when we thought the Raiders hit that stride and they were looking like a legit contender. And I would say the first start of the year, they looked like contenders here too. But The past 2 weeks have been rough, scoring 10 points last week versus Washington, 7 this week. Derek Carr being under a lot of pressure, taking some hits, and now he's going to be out for 2 to 6 weeks. Denver does get the win, 3-1, right behind Kansas City in the AFC West. What do you think about the turn of events for the Raiders with Carr?
That's really all I really just want to say. It's really disappointing because I really like the Raiders, even though I know I didn't predict them to get that far down in the playoffs, but I still felt like this was a very promising team. I still argue with anybody last year that if Carr didn't get injured when he did during the playoffs or right in the end of the season, that they could have definitely went farther in the playoffs than they did. They could have I would have even argued that they could have been Super Bowl contenders considering the stride that they were in last year. And it just seems that even before this injury, it's just like whatever momentum they had, they lost it. I don't know what the chemical breakdown is amongst the team, but it seems like they're not clicking on all cylinders like they were the end of definitely last year. And even in the first 2 games of this year, it just seems like they're kind of just going in and out of whatever kind of chemistry that they once had is starting to just kind of break away now. And it's pretty bad. It's really just not good to see, honestly, all around. But for the Broncos, man, they had a good game. Trevor Siemian went 16 out of 26, 179 yards for a touchdown. C.J. Anderson had 20 carries for 95 yards. A.J. Derby was their leading receiver with 4 receptions for 75 yards and 1 touchdown. Now, Derek Carr, before he got injured, did pull off a good bit of stats, 10 for 18 for 143 yards and a touchdown. But you can see that in this game, the Broncos' defense definitely was a stipend for the Raiders. Marshawn Lynch had 9 carries for only 12 yards. and it actually held the Raiders into 254 total yards altogether.
That's awesome.
Definitely.
To a potent offense like that. Amari Cooper continues to struggle as well for Oakland. I think I did choose Denver to win this game.
You did. You
I thought Carr would. I didn't anticipate him getting hurt, but I still thought he would struggle regardless against the Denver defense. So Denver's looking like a legit contender right now on the AFC side of things. They have had a lot of home games early. I think 3 of their first 4 games were at home, so that does kind of give you an advantage. We'll have to see how they do when they hit the road a little bit more to see if they can continue that level of play away from home, so to speak. But right now, just an unfortunate situation for the Raiders. I think E.J. Manuel is going to be the quarterback to take over for them. We do know he had some time down in Buffalo where he did, pretty okay with the Bills. I mean, I think he can get them through a 2 to 6 week stretch, depending on how long it'll be. There are some winnable games there for Oakland in that stretch. So I don't think the season is over for them, but I do think they need at least possibly be a 500 ball club by the time Carr comes back, maybe at 6-6 or whatever their record is, 7-7 by the time he gets back.
Right.
And give him something to work with when he does come back.
Definitely. Yeah. I've also seen a lot of memes about possibly the Raiders signing Colin Kaepernick. Do you feel like that, if it were to happen, because memes are anything, it doesn't necessarily solidify anything, but do you feel like that'll be a nice fit, Colin Kaepernick to the Raiders? Bless you.
Excuse me. Maybe I'm allergic to that question you asked there. I think that was a no from Trump there. But could he fit in well there? I think so. But will it happen? I don't think so.
Yeah.
I just think the big thing is at this point is, that him being away from football, so long now.
Yeah.
Basically, you never forget how to play football, obviously, but just the physicality of it.
Right.
Getting back used to getting hit again and, going up against defenses and all that. But I would go for him. He's the best thing that's out there.
Definitely.
For sure. But will they do it just because of the scrutiny of everything that has been going on with this whole protest thing and just everything in general that people feel that comes with Colin Kaepernick? I don't think they would take a chance on him.
Yeah, me neither. I would like to see it. Mm-hmm. I feel like just by Kaepernick's athleticism and being able to keep plays alive, it would work in their situation. Because like you say, they do have a lot of targets. They just don't really have... Even Derek Carr is a very good athletic quarterback. Mm-hmm. I feel like Colin Kaepernick advances him with his feet a little bit. So I feel like he would help the team. Mm-hmm. But like you said, because of the politics about him right now, just being scrutinized and blackballed by the league, I don't see it happening. Unfortunately. If it does happen, I would love for that to surprise me. But yeah, I agree with you. I don't see it happening anytime soon.
Who's your next game?
And the next game is something we both predicted correctly on, and it was the Seahawks pulling out a win against the Colts, 46-18. Very confident win. Russell Wilson had a very good game, 21 for 26, 295 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, even with two interceptions. Total yards they had was 477 altogether.
Yeah, I wouldn't. It was actually a close game there for a minute. I think it was 25-18 at one point.
I think so.
They pulled away 3. They scored 3 touchdowns, 21 unanswered points to close it out at 46-18. This is a win definitely Seattle really needed. I think this was a good game to show up on their schedule at the time that it did, given the way they've lost some close ones. But as we talked about last week, they're one of those teams that we know they get stronger the later it gets in the game.
Right.
So I won't be surprised to see them rally off some wins, maybe 3-4 wins in a row to kind of stabilize their season. But I do know last week they lost their running back in Carson. So it might have been in this game, or might have been last week. I'm not sure which game it was in.
Me neither.
So they've had some running back issues over the past couple of years, just keeping a healthy back in place. But I mean, and far as the Colts go, Andrew Luck is, like I said, is actively participating in practice. They don't have a timetable of when he's going to be back. They want to make sure that he's fully ready to go, before they just put him out there on the field. I know their head coach was asked the question. It's just like he's kind of getting annoyed by the question now every week. Hey, is Andrew Luck going to come back? When is he coming back? And he responded with, ask the doctors.
Yeah.
It's not up to me to decide.
Right.
If I could make him be here, he would be here,
yeah.
so to speak.
Stop making it seem like I'm holding him back or something.
Yeah. So he just pretty much is like, hey, ask the doctors. I'm just focusing on who's here, who's available,
right,
and trying to win with the players that I have available.
Yeah.
Which I understand. But we do know they're a much better team when he's out there.
Oh, definitely. They wouldn't definitely be 1-3 right now with Andrew Luck.
Yeah, for sure.
So who you have for the last game? Well, there's only one game left.
This is actually a really good game. Kansas City versus the Redskins. Yeah. Chiefs remain the only unbeaten team in football.
That's right. That puts me in a very good mood right there. Definitely. But I must admit, they weren't really supposed to win this game.
And I was going to hit on some of that, especially at the end there, that possible touchdown grab by the Redskin receiver. I think he
Josh Doxson
lost control of the ball on the way down. So it's kind of like, if he holds on to that ball, we could be having a different conversation.
Exactly. It was a 4-point lead.
At that point.
So, definitely. And who was it? Kirk Cousins. He had a really good game. 14-24, 220 yards, 2 touchdowns. It would have been 3 if it wasn't for that drop by Josh Doxson. Vernon Davis, 2 receptions for 89 yards. But, it still come up short that to Alex Smith and the Chiefs, man. Alex Smith had a good game as well. 27 for 37, 293 yards, 1 touchdown. Kareem Hunt, this rookie, is still having great games. He had pulled out 101 yards rushing with 21 carries. Travis Kelce had 111 yards and 7 receptions for a touchdown. And Harrison Butler hit the 43-yard field goal for the win. But the reason the score doesn't look the same is because at the last play of the game, I think he fumbled the ball, and one of the defenders from the Chiefs decided to run it in. Which, like I said, if Josh Doxson would have had it, that none of that ending would have been the way it was.
And then definitely the score was much closer than what the final score indicated.
Right.
But you got to give it to the Chiefs.
Yeah,
they hold on, to win it. They're looking like the top team right now in the NFL. Got to give Andy Reid a lot of credit for what he's doing with this team and with Alex Smith. I mean, it's pretty much turned this guy's career around. We knew San Francisco kind of pushed him out of the door when Kaepernick took over, and he's been trying to find a stable place with Kansas City, and they've been doing some good things in the couple of years they've been together. Nice start to the year at 4-0 for them. I mean, Washington played tough against them, though. I will give the Redskins some credit. Every game they played in this season, except for the Philly game, the opening week of the season, they had a tough one with you guys. I think they can't to come back and beat you guys, and that's the only loss you guys have against you and the Rams. And then they played, destroyed Oakland pretty much last week, and then played the Chiefs tough here. So the Redskins definitely, is a team you might want to keep your eye on in that NFC East division at 2-2 right now. But that pretty much rounds off the NFL Week 4 picks, and we've tallied everything up. And C Moody still has the lead over the overall lead. He's holding on. It's getting slim.
Oh yeah,
by the week,
definitely.
So I thought this week would be my week to overtake him, but we had some crazy things happen with the Patriots losing, and then the Cowboys lost, and we've had some weird things happen this week. The Falcons lost. Didn't see that one coming.
Yeah, not at all.
just a difference of a couple of games there. I could be, either tied with him or right behind him.
Right. And as far as the week win, I only beat him by one game. It's 11-5 to his 10-6. So
yeah, it was a close week for sure. C Moody is now 40-23 on the season, and I'm 5 games back at 35-28. Given the fact, my disclaimer though, I started the season 5-10.
That's true.
So I have made a comeback.
A tremendous comeback.
If you tally it up for those who like math, I started 5-10. So since then, I've gone 30-18.
30-18. That is good.
Over the last couple weeks. So,
Hey.
I'm making some ground here.
Yeah.
So we'll see how it goes over the next couple weeks. For those who keep up with it, C Moody is still out in front by the slimmest of margins.
The slimmest of margins. This is actually the first week since week 1 that I've actually
came
out ahead. Yeah. I only won week 1 so far. So
yeah, so we've evened it up through the first 4 weeks, and now we're gonna segue into who we think is our top 5 or NFL Power Rankings top 5. We're going to let C Moody go first this week because mine is kind of a different looking top 5 from last week, so to speak.
It is. Okay. So if anybody doesn't remember, or if you didn't watch last week, my top 5 was number 1 being the Kansas City Chiefs, number 2 being the Atlanta Falcons, number 3 Detroit Lions, number 4, the Raiders, and number 5, the Cowboys. This week, I think I'm gonna go from 1 down. I know last week we
go 5 down.
Go 5 up.
Okay, who's your number 1?
Okay,
count it down. It's a countdown.
All right, you're right. You're right. That makes sense. All right, so at my number 5, I'm gonna go ahead and say I've taken the Cowboys out. And in place of the Cowboys for my number 5, I think I'm going to add the Steelers. I think I'm putting the Steelers at number 5 this week. Now, mind you, I honestly am kind of coming up with this as we're announcing it right now. I'm writing this down too. But yeah, I'm the Cowboys, even though they had a good week, even though they lost to my boys this week, but I see them still being a good team, but because they're 2-2, I have to drop them off the mark right now. But yeah, so I'm putting the Steelers at number 5. Ben Roethlisberger and the Steelers are just showing why they're just a veteran team. They kind of almost remind me of the Spurs of the NFL, just showing they having a pretty good. Even though I would say Greg Popovich, my NFL version of Greg Popovich would be Bill Belichick, of course, but I just like the Steelers being one of those veteran teams that still just know how to win fundamentally all around. So that's why they're number 5. My number 4 team, and I'm taking the Raiders out because the Raiders have been falling apart at the seams, it seems to be, and I just can't deal with that anymore. It's really bad. Number 4, I'm gonna have to put Denver Broncos, and just how their defense has been performing. Trevor Siemian has been having some pretty good games, but I feel like they're another team that's starting to, I won't say all around because they're definitely defensive heavy. That's pretty much why they keep them in the games, and the offense just knows how to capitalize with the defense maintaining it. But I just like it. It just reminds me of how dominant their defense can be, reminiscent of how they had their Super Bowl run in Peyton Manning's last year, because even that Super Bowl win itself, with having a Hall of Famer at Peyton Manning, that win was more so because of their defense, and they're really starting to show shades of that defense again. So that's why they're my number 4 now. Now my number 3 is going to be the Falcons. I dropped the Falcons down because they had this unfortunate L to the Bills, which I honestly should have taken them out, but I'm trying to not give them that much of a drop. It just maybe I need to just respect the Bills more and just say that the Falcons are still a good team. We'll see how they do this week to see whether or not they should remain on my top 5. But yeah, that's pretty much the only thing I can say. I feel like maybe I need to put the Bills up here. It's just the Bills have been showing out, but like you said, the season's early. I'm not going to give them that advantage in their division, knowing that the Patriots are in there. Which, forgive me for not having the Patriots in my top 5.
I understand. It's going to be a shocker for me. It's going to be a shocker when you hear about it.
Oh, man. So my number 2, you have to believe in Matthew Stafford. Even though this... Go ahead. Even though, like you said, this game wasn't really based off of Matthew Stafford's performance all around. It just showed that their team is more complete than just Matthew Stafford. And, I mean, they're still winning, so I have to shoot them up. And definitely because the Falcons lost their game, the Lions are still winning. Go ahead. If you want to input, you definitely can.
The only thing I have to say is, didn't Atlanta beat Detroit the week before?
That's not the point.
So how is Detroit over?
It's not the point. They lost. They lost.
But Detroit lost before Atlanta did.
It's all right. It's all right. They won their performance this week. Their defense. Now, because I'm really giving them the upper hand because of their defense. I feel like their defense are starting to be more of a threat than... Because, like I said, the first 3 weeks I was always saying just bet on Matthew Stafford. Mm-hmm. And this week was really the first week that you can see that they win without putting it all on Matthew Stafford. So that's why I'm giving them an upper thing, because they're looking to be more complete than what they seemed to be before. So that's why they're at my number 2. And that, go ahead. But at number 1 is going to remain Kansas City. Honestly, I was disappointed in this Sunday's performance from them, because like I said, they should have lost this game if it wasn't for that one drop in the touchdown. I feel like this whole game would be different and they wouldn't be undefeated. But we can't go off of the what ifs. The fact of the matter is, right now they're the only unbeaten team in the league. They're still a good team, even though they struggled this week with the Redskins. Not to take away from the team that the Redskins are, but they're still just undefeated. You can't go against undefeated. So that's why they're my number 1. And that is my top 5 power rankings of this week. And I will give it to D Moody to tell his top 5.
It's going to look a lot different.
What was last week's?
Last week, I think I don't have it in front of me right now.
You want me to? I'll say it for you.
Okay, who did I have last week?
Last week, your top 5 was going from 5 up. With number 5, you had the Oakland Raiders. Okay. Number 4 was the Cowboys. Number 3 was your Patriots. Number 2 was your Falcons. And number 1 was your Chiefs.
Okay. So number 5 this week, I have a tie.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Well, no. Tell you what, it's not going to be a tie.
You going to take them out?
Yeah, I'm going to take them out. Number 5, Carolina Panthers.
Oh, wow.
At 3-1.
Okay.
I mean, you go into Foxborough and you beat Brady at
Respect.
Home. You got it. And you're 3-1. You got to be there.
Okay.
So I put them at 5. Number 4 for me, I have to give it to them, is going to be, as much as I hate to say this.
Oh, yeah, I know what it's going to be.
I can't say it.
Yes, you can.
Can't do it.
Yes, you can.
I have to put Pittsburgh there at 3-1. I just changed it mid-pitch. I really did. So I put Pittsburgh at 3-1 at 4.
Okay.
Number 3 is Denver.
Okay.
At 3-1. I mean, they have had some good wins against Dallas and against Oakland.
Right.
So I will not ignore the fact of them doing that. So Denver is at 3-1.
Okay. Number
2 is Atlanta, still at 3-1. I mean, they lost to Buffalo, but I'm willing to live with that because they lost Julio and Sanu.
Right.
So those are 2 intricate pieces to what they do offensively. So it's 3-1. I'm not gonna, lose stock in Atlanta. I still think they're the best team in the NFC right now.
Okay, I respect that.
And number 1, is going to be Kansas City.
Yeah.
At 4-0. Again, it was a shaky game for them this week. They survived that game pretty much because Washington pretty much gave them a scare. So that rounds out my top 5. Now, I will say on the cusp of making the top 5 was your Rams. They're at 6.
Ooh.
And that was a big win against Dallas.
Yeah.
And they're over the Patriots right now. They're at 6. Matthews at 7.
Okay.
And New England's at 8 for me.
I like that.
So I just, they're right there, like trying to get in there, but, you know, I need more. I need to see more from both the Rams and Detroit. Detroit, definitely more from them. The Rams have really, I like what they're doing right now, and they're definitely a top 10 team, and they're definitely a team I would not want to play right now because they have a lot of momentum going right now.
NFC Championship.
So New England falls from grace from being number 3 back-to-back weeks for me all the way down to 8 right now.
Hey, that's all right, man.
But I do feel, you know, we do got some defensive issues, and as long as those things continue, I can't put them amongst the elite. Right. The only thing that's keeping them relevant right now in my top 10 is because of Brady and Belichick. You know that, hey, just based off the history of what they've been able to do and accomplish. I mean, they're in the same spot they were in 2 years ago when they were 2-2. And Kansas City blew them out on that Monday Night Football game, and then they rallied on to win the Super Bowl. So, but 2-2 right now for the Patriots. I do have your Rams at 6 and your Lions along with Matthew at 7.
Along with Matthew,
because they won the game. They won the game.
Yeah, I mean, definitely this week. But
but that wraps up my top 5. It's a different looking top 5. You noticed that last week I had Oakland there. They're not there anymore. They're number 9 this week for me. Okay. Pittsburgh came back up, even though to me they still don't have a convincing win versus a really good team. I mean, I didn't really look at Baltimore as a like a primetime win type thing. I respect that. Denver has shown me a lot, beating who did they beat? They beat Dallas and Oakland this week. Yeah. And then their only loss is also to Buffalo. So like you said, Atlanta lost to Buffalo too, so it has to mean Buffalo's doing something right. Yeah, something. And Buffalo hung tough with Carolina too. Yeah. And I have Buffalo sitting right there at number 10. I just can't put them over Oakland right now. I can't put them over New England right now until I see a little bit more from them. But I mean, they knocked off Denver and Atlanta, so we may have to keep paying this team some attention in the upcoming week.
They might be something serious.
Could be.
Definitely.
But after Thanksgiving always tells the story in the NFL. Yeah, you know who's going to be your emerging from the pack, so to speak. So, but that's how it is for me in my top 10 or top 5 for the week. So, okay, we're getting ready to close it out. As far as we recapped our NFL Week 4 pick, C Moody with the lead overall in the season, 40 wins and 23 losses. I have 35 wins versus 28 losses, so a 5-game lead for C Moody. We'll come back later in the podcast to have our Week 5 picks. Coming up next, we're going to get into some college football, seeing how the week in college football went, and going to give you the new top 10 for this week in college football. You've been listening to Sports Moods, 2 Moodies,
1 Duty,
Sports.
We'll be right back.
All right, welcome back to Sports Moods. D Moody here with
C Moody.
two Moody's.
One duty.
Sports. Also, guys, a quick bit of info for you. If you guys want to keep up with Sports Moods and what we're up to, you can follow us on Twitter at Sports Moods on Twitter and on Instagram at It's Sports Moods.
That's right.
So
ITS Sports Moods.
Yeah, so if you guys want to keep up with what's going on, what we think of certain things that's happening in the world of sports through a weekly basis we also still want you to continue to tune into the podcast. You guys have been giving us a lot of support. We've been doing this for about a month now, and we appreciate everybody who takes the time out of their day to listen to us and the things that we discuss about sports. But if you kind of want a more in-depth following of us, we'll be always posting things on Instagram and on Twitter. Again, at Sports Moods for Twitter, and on Instagram at It's Sports Moods, ITS Sports Moods.
There you go.
So now we're going to get ready to jump into some college football this week. We're going to start off with the defending national champion Clemson Tigers. They went on the road to take on Virginia Tech, which were ranked at number 12. Both teams are 4-0 going into this game. Clemson won this one 31-17 on the road. The big ACC primetime showdown on Saturday night. Kelly Bryant had 12 of 21, 186 yards, and a touchdown pass. Also rushed the ball for 19 times for 94 yards. Also, Tavian Feaster for Clemson had 2 receptions for 63 yards and a touchdown. For Virginia Tech, their quarterback Jackson went 29 of 44, 251 yards. Passing, did have a touchdown, but did throw 2 interceptions in the game. Now, Clemson, the total yardage, they had 332 total yards. Virginia Tech had 342.
Wow.
But Virginia Tech had more yards than Clemson overall in the game. But the biggest, thing for them was Clemson outrushed them in the game. Running the football was 146 yards rushing for Clemson to Virginia Tech's 90 yards rushing. So that was a big difference in the game. And also 3 turnovers by Virginia Tech to Clemson 0. So anytime you lose the turnover battle in college football, it's usually going to work against you more than it works for you. Huge stat here for Clemson in the first month of the season now as they move to 5-0 and Virginia Tech falls to 4-1. Clemson has defeated 3 ranked teams in the top 15 before the month of October.
Wow.
That's the first time in the history of the AP poll that has happened. And these victories came against number 13 Auburn, number 14 Louisville, and on Saturday night versus number 12 Virginia Tech. Yeah. So you got to give big props to Dabo Swinney and Clemson being the defending national champions. Just like they never missed a beat from last year. And a lot of people didn't have a lot of stock in Clemson this year, including some of your big analysts out there for ESPN, especially Lee Corso, was just kind of like he feels like Clemson lost too much on both sides of the ball to still be a contender the way they were last year. But I think they're much better than what they were last year.
I was definitely agreeing with you. I was actually thinking to myself that the defense seems way better than they were last year. And I really... Because what it's looking like it's going to lead up to is just being a rematch. It's just going to be the Bama Clemson again. And, I mean, just by going by the defense alone, it just feels like Alabama's is just – it might be outmatched compared to Clemson's defense.
Could be. So. Could be. And I just like what Dabo has done there with the culture that he's created by us being from South Carolina, being very close, in relation to what, Clemson is doing. I mean, he's been doing some really good things. He's been beating some high-powered, schools out there over the course of his tenure as their head coach. And, looking like they could end up right back there in, the thick of things in the college football playoff and going back to the national championship. A lot of people even argue the fact that they should jump over Bama for the number 1 spot because of these wins versus these top 15 teams. 3 wins in the top against the top 15 before October. And really, the only thing that's really, I think, that's keeping Bama at number one is that they beat Florida State to begin the year. And that was like a 3-1, 1 versus 3 matchup. But now we look at where Florida State is as compared to where they were.
Right.
Clemson has won 2 of these 3 games against the top 15 on the road. You know, going to Louisville, winning at Louisville, going to Virginia Tech, winning at Virginia Tech. So, you know, that could be an argument there for Clemson's sake. But they're still undefeated 5-0 on the year after beating Virginia Tech 31-17. The next game we're going to look at right now is one that was an SEC showdown between number 24 Mississippi State versus number 13 Auburn. Auburn wins this game in a runaway fashion, 49-10 the final. Auburn moves to 4-1 on the season, and Mississippi State falls to 3-2, losing back-to-back games after their 3-0 start to the season. The big thing is, in this one, the win that Clemson had versus Auburn looks more convincing now that Auburn is still playing really good football.
Yeah.
And you can remember also Auburn played Clemson really tough. Clemson only won that game by 6 points. It was 13-7. So Mississippi State, you know, pretty much going to be out of the top 25 with this loss. They've lost 2 straight lopsided games. Last week they lost to Georgia 31-3 and then come back to lose to Auburn 49-10. And if you ever feel like you're going to be a contender, you know, on the national level in college football, you have to win these games in the SEC. And these blowout losses for them is definitely not a good way to try to get your program going in the right direction. Really, right now, a lot of people feel Auburn is going to be an early contender to beat Alabama. I still don't see that quite yet from them. I would definitely have to see the matchup on the field to really go that far into it, but they can give Bama some issues. We saw Bama win their game 66-3 over Ole Miss. So, I mean, Bama's still pretty strong no matter how you look at it. So, and Jalen Hurts is only getting that much better.
Right. I just want to add one last thing on that. It said that, you know, this game Saturday night was the highest scoring performance by the Crimson Tide in 11 years.
Yes.
Since, you know, being under Nick Saban. So.
Yeah, that's huge. 66 points, just giving up 3. I mean, that's a complete...
It makes the 3 sound like they just gave them points.
Yeah, it's like, you know, we'll give y'all this. Yeah, but they destroyed Ole Miss there. And over the past couple of years, Ole Miss actually have played Alabama pretty well. They actually got a win over Alabama, I think, 2 years ago in Alabama. So for that to be the way that game ended was a rough night for Ole Miss. But getting back to this one, just some stats from this Auburn-Mississippi State game. Auburn's quarterback, Jarrett Stidham, 264 yards passing, 2 touchdowns passing in the game. Also hit a 47-yarder, on a touchdown pass to Will Hastings. The running back, Karan Johnson, 3 touchdown runs in the game, 116 yards rushing. Now, the cool thing about this is Auburn really hit their stride offensively. So the Mississippi State defense gave up a lot of big plays in this game. They gave up a big play for 67 yards, a big play for 57 yards, one for 52 yards,
wow,
one for 49 yards, and one for 47 yards.
That sounds like a game of Madden.
I mean, they've got beat on a lot of big plays in the game. I think when I was flipping through the channels watching, I saw their Auburn quarterback, Jarrett Stidham, just, throw. He was back up against his own end zone, from out of his own end zone, throw close to a 50-something yard pass out of his own end zone.
Wow.
So, I mean, it's just a rough night for the Mississippi State defense. And who their last win came against, right?
Who's that?
Louisiana Tech. Remember the little fumble, the 85-yard debacle we saw?
That was just an omen for a bad season for them.
Yep, that's the last time they won a game.
Wow.
So they've lost back-to-back weeks in blowout fashion. For Mississippi State, though, Nick Fitzgerald, 157 yards passing. ran for 56 yards. Total yards in the game, Auburn had 511 yards on 56 plays.
Wow.
Mississippi State had 351 total yards on 84 plays. So they had the ball almost way more than Auburn and still had 84 plays and only managed to get 351 yards. And Auburn had the ball for 28 less plays and got 511 yards. But again, it comes back to giving up those big plays of 60 and 50 and 40 yards throughout the game was the difference in this one. So Auburn moves to 4-1. Mississippi State falls to 3-2 with 49-10 win for the Auburn Tigers. Now we're going to move over to another matchup I thought was a good matchup on the season. Number 5 USC went into Washington State taking on number 16 Wazoo. Wazoo got the upset, 30-27 over USC. USC loses for the first time in 13 games. It snaps their 13-game win streak they had going. Sam Darnold, yet another interception in the game and also a fumble, so that's continuing to hurt his Heisman stock.
Yeah, definitely.
0 touchdown passes in the game. He did have 2 rushing touchdowns in the game, though, I guess to offset the interception and the fumble, but still, you don't look at him as a runner.
Right. Not being a quarterback. It doesn't offset it at all.
It doesn't offset it, so CJ ain't going to give him any love there. The running back for USC, Ronald Jones II, pretty much 9 carries in the game, 25 yards. Well, actually, 9 carries in the game for Ronald Jones Jr. for Wazoo, And, I'm reading this all wrong. Ronald Jones II, 9 carries in the game, 14 carries, 128 yards. USC got me all out of whack here. So I do apologize for that. Ronald Jones II had 14 carries in the game for 128 yards. Did average 9.1 yards per carry.
There we go.
Got it right that time. And Sam Darnold in the game had 9 carries for 25 yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. So I was mixing both of their stats up there. So sorry about that. USC was 2 of 11 on third downs. Again, that does hurt your stock in these type games. You can't put together decent enough drives to string together enough plays to, have productive drives that's going to give you points. Then you have to convert those third downs. USC had the 2 turnovers to Washington State's 1 turnover. Morrow for Washington State was 91 yards on the day on 6 carries for him. Luke Falk, threw the ball for 340 yards on 34 out of 51, completion percentage. Eric Powell hit a 32-yard field goal at close to the end of the game with about 1:40 left in the fourth quarter to put Washington State up 30-27. This was the first time Washington State beat a top 5 team since the 1992 season.
Wow.
So that is a huge win for that franchise there, for sure. 92.
25 years.
Yeah, that's almost 25 years. So almost my whole lifetime.
Right.
So definitely a surprise contender now is Washington State for the Pac-12 title. They could very well crack the top 10 or be very close to the top 10 with a win like that over USC. And again, Sam Darnold, very turnover prone.
Yeah. 8
interceptions in 5 games. His Heisman stock is going down. Now get this, C. Moody. He only had 9 interceptions all last year.
Really?
And he's already through 4 games and is already 8 interceptions in 5 games.
You know what I think? Where was his Heisman stock last year?
I think he came on strong at the end of the year. I don't think he was really...
Was he in the top 5 at the end of the year?
I don't remember if he was in the top 5. I think he had a great showing late in the year, but I don't think he was in the the top 5. He might have been, but
What?
just year over year, how his play has.
Yeah. Because what it seems like to me is this year somebody just got in his head to shoot to be the best person, and he's overdoing it now. Like he's forcing everything now, and it's just having a negative response to him. And I think he really just needs to slow his game down. Maybe that'll help. Like I feel like he's just trying to. All he has in his mind is, I'm trying to win the Heisman. I'm trying to seem like the best NFL recruit, and by him overdoing it, it's really just hurting himself. At least for the Heisman. I mean, of course, maybe it could be some NFL agents that knows, how he's performed in the recent years, and just say, well, he's had an off year. Everybody has an off year, and still pick him. I'm not saying I don't think he's going to make it to the NFL, but just as far as this year, it's definitely hurting him. It's pretty much all but ruined his Heisman chances.
I think so too. The turnovers is what's really hurting him. I was listening to Colin Cowherd on yesterday. He was talking about Sam Darnold and Josh Rosen from UCLA. He was like, given the fact the way the NFL has started out this year with all these 0-4 teams, possibly looking like Cleveland could get the first pick again, or possibly, he says if Cleveland gets the first pick, if he's Sam Darnold, he stays for another year. You don't want to go to Cleveland. You don't want to end up in a situation like that for either him or Josh Rosen. And then if San Fran gets the first pick, he said maybe already playing in California with USC, maybe take a shot at that.
Yeah.
They don't really have a really good quarterback situation there. Brian Hoyer is, he's a pretty subpar quarterback, but he's, he can do enough to get you through a season.
Yeah.
But, depending on who ends with that first draft pick sometimes can determine whether or not if these players decide to come out. I mean, because you don't want to. I mean, obviously, if you're one of the better players in the country, you go to like a not so good team. So maybe Darnold may stay another year to try to go for a national championship. Their national championship hopes are not over, but I did have them in my college football playoff as a prediction this year, given the way they ended last year. And I thought Sam Darnold's stock would grow higher this year, but to me it looks like it's going the other direction. But 4-1 right now is USC. Washington State at 5-0. So that was the upset of the week. Well, no, I take that back. That wasn't the upset of the week. The very next one is going to be the upset of the week, and I'm going to give you some sound effects as to why.
Bad move.
This is a terrible mood, and I'll give you another one. Unranked Troy waltzes into Death Valley to take on the LSU Tigers, who are ranked number 25. Big SEC school going up against this little school of Troy. And Troy beats LSU 24-21. This loss snaps LSU's 49-game win streak versus non-conference opponents.
Wow. One more. Man,
I can't even really put it. I'm so stunned at this loss by LSU. I mean, they lost to Mississippi State a couple weeks ago, like by a lot of points. I think it was like 37-7, and then you turn around and lose to Troy, and then you look at how Mississippi State is getting pounded these last couple weeks. So I don't know if that makes that loss looks even worse.
Yeah. It does.
It does, and then you turn around and lose to Troy on top of that. So, Troy held LSU scoreless in the first half of that game.
Really?
And going into this game, LSU was favored to win this game by 3 touchdowns.
And all they had was 3 touchdowns.
And all they mustered was 3 touchdowns.
That is hilarious.
So let's go over some of the stats here. Troy was 10 of 18 on third downs. LSU was 0 for 8.
Wow.
So Troy pretty much extended more drives and kept more drives going than LSU did.
It sounds like Troy's defense was pretty good too.
LSU, 4 turnovers in the game. So you're right.
Troy's defense was pretty good.
4 turnovers, Troy only had 2. But anytime you win the turnover battle, that gives you a better chance of winning the game.
Especially if you can execute off of it.
Yep. Troy's quarterback, Silvers, was 16 of 28, 157 yards. Didn't throw a touchdown or a pick in the game. Chun, their running back, ran the ball 30 times for 191 yards rushing. Had a touchdown in the game. And had a 74-yard run in the game as well. Against an LSU defense. 74-yard run. Wow. LSU's quarterback, Eating, was 17 of 25, 198 yards, 2 touchdowns, an interception. Then LSU's backup had to come in. Brennan went 4 of 7, 68 yards, a touchdown, and an INT. Gage, the receiver for LSU, 3 receptions, 62 yards, and a touchdown. And then Morrow was 3 receptions, 41 yards, and 2 touchdowns in the game. So that was the 3 touchdowns in the game for the LSU Tigers. But again, stunned at the fact that Troy went in here and beat LSU.
Yeah.
The mouth of the South, Paul Feinbaum, was just kind of like, I don't think they play football anymore at LSU. I don't know what they're doing anymore.
That's horrible.
It's like you never would think this would happen. Now, I know upsets can happen. We've seen like Appalachian State beat Michigan in the Big House a couple of years ago.
That game.
We've seen these caliber upsets. Remember when Boise State was good and they used to beat ranked teams.
The good old Bluefield.
Yeah, they beat Oklahoma that year in the Fiesta Bowl or something like that. So upsets do happen, but I just didn't think in this situation LSU would lose this game at home to Troy.
Is Boise State still a team?
They're still a team. They're just not as good as they were years ago when they were making like top
the Tebow era.
Yeah, top 10s and stuff like that. But yeah, definitely
Troy.
LSU a tough loss at home to Troy. And these little small schools have to pay a lot of money to play these big schools in these types of situations. Yeah. To schedule them, they have to, pay these schools a lot of money to even have them put them on their schedule. So and to go in there and to win that game proves a lot for Troy.
I tell them I want my money back now.
They want your money back.
Right.
But another one for LSU on that.
Yeah. Definitely a bad move for the LSU Tigers.
Bad move, man. Other notable games this week. Georgia looking really strong, 5-0. They were ranked number 7 last week. A 41-0 shutout of the Tennessee Volunteers. Penn State at number 4 over Indiana, 45-14. They moved to 5-0. Again, we mentioned Big Bad Bama, 66-3 over Ole Miss. They're 5-0. Number 10 Ohio State ended up at 56-0 in their victory. They moved to 4-1.
Wasn't their only loss to Clemson?
It was to Oklahoma.
Oklahoma.
Yep. So they rallied off 3 in a row since losing that one to Oklahoma. Number 9 Wisconsin, 33-24 over Northwestern. They are 5-0 on the season as well. Miami beats Duke 31-6, and Florida State gets their first win of the season, 26-19 over Wake Forest. And then Texas A&M with the victory over South Carolina, who now drops to 3-2, as I said last week. And I know to my buddy James Martin out there, I'm so sorry, buddy, but I just don't believe in those Gamecocks. I mean, they were 3-1. I thought it was a fraudulent 3-1. They were up 17-7 over Texas A&M in this game in the second half, and Texas A&M rallied off 24 unanswered points. They were rallied off 17 unanswered points to beat the Gamecocks 24-17.
The faith of the Gamecocks left when Steve Spurrier left. just to say the least. And not saying that there's not a strong fan base for the Gamecocks. Because, like I said, for us being in South Carolina, we definitely see there's even stores called a House Divided where you have one side of Gamecocks and the other side of Clemson things. So the caliber based off of the fan base shows that we see the two Gamecocks and Clemson. But these are two totally different teams now. And it's definitely dropped the ranking and the value of the Gamecocks after Spurrier left. And it just seems like the mojo almost of this team left with them. It's almost like, you know how in Space Jam when they had everybody's power put into the basketball, like Steve Spurrier took all the power of the Gamecocks in his football and went home. It's really bad for
mean, he had some really good seasons there, and they had a little streak against Clemson for a while there before Clemson got to be this dominant. I mean, the Gamecocks were beating Clemson every year, almost like a 4 or 5 year span. They beat Clemson, and
that's why we have the rivalry stories now, because, like you said, it was a time where we actually went back and forth, Gamecocks, Clemson, Gamecocks. Not anymore.
Not anymore. Man, it's a rebuilding stage right now for USC. South Carolina. Bentley, their quarterback, was sacked 7 times.
Goodness.
In the game. It was 1 sack toward the end of the game. I kid you not. He got up stumbling and staggering.
Oh, wow.
He got
rocked.
Yeah, he was rocked. I was like, man, you know it's bad when your quarterback gets up to go back to the huddle and he is doing a 2-step.
Yeah.
Going back to the huddle.
Man, that's pretty bad.
So it's rough week for the Gamecocks. They did some good things, though. It's not but when you're on the road like that in the SEC, going into Texas A&M like that, it's a tough place to play. That place gets loud. The 12th man there is phenomenal when it comes to making it a tough place to play for visiting teams. But, I mean, Carolina had controlled the game, and it just seems like A&M just went on that run, and they never recovered from it. Continue to struggle with the kicker. Parker White continues to miss field goals for them. It's just overall some tough things going on right now in Columbia, South Carolina.
Yeah.
Now we're getting ready to unveil this week's new top 10. Rounding out the top 10 is Ohio State at 4-1. Big Ten, representing the Big Ten also is Wisconsin at 4-0 at number 9. Now Wisconsin has a tough October ahead of them. They have to play both some games against Ohio State and Michigan. Then you got TCU at number 8 at 4-0. We did know last week they knocked off Oklahoma State. TCU had a bye week this week, so they did not play. So they did drop a couple spots from number 6 last week. Michigan is now 4-0 at number 7. And number 6 is Washington at 5-0. Still remembering those guys making the college playoff last year. Not much being said about them.
Yeah.
But the state of Washington in general, I mean, 5-0 Washington Huskies, 5-0 Washington State.
Right. They're number 11. They're just out of it.
Just outside of it with that win. So if anybody slips up this week and they win, they could possibly be in the top 10. Number 5, Georgia at 5-0. So they've climbed up the rankings over the last couple of weeks. They were number 7 last week. Now moving up into that top 5 is Georgia. Number 4 is Penn State at 5-0, remaining undefeated with their Heisman hopeful Saquon Barkley.
Yeah.
Number 3 is Oklahoma at 4-0, remaining the same from last week. Oklahoma was on a bye week this week as well. Number 2 is the defending national champions, the Clemson Tigers at 5-0. And number 1, Big Bad Bama at 5-0. A lot of people feel that Clemson should take over the number 1 spot over Bama just by virtue of those 3 top 15 wins in September. And a lot of people feel what's keeping Bama at 1 is the fact that they beat number 3 Florida State the opening game of the season. So, I mean, the way that win looks now, Florida State is not even ranked anymore. I know given the fact that Francois got hurt,
yeah.
but still Clemson has put together a nice schedule here where they want to get some quality teams. So I do think just by virtue of doing that, I think they should really overtake Bama at 1 right now. But that's how your top 10 looks as of right now. We're going to give C Moody the mic so he can go over the Heisman hopefuls.
Definitely. We have actually another running back that's actually jumped into the Heisman hopefuls list, the Heisman high five, as I want to call it. Doing the countdown at number 5, remaining in the Heisman watch is Lamar Jackson, quarterback at Louisville. I'm crazy. Excuse me for that. Still having a pretty good season so far. But at number 4, we have Luke Falk, quarterback from Washington State. Like you said, that team, they're an undefeated team still. Like you said, another big win by the state of Washington altogether. And so that's somebody who comes new, knocking out Sam Darnold, actually out of this top 5. So number 3, the new addition running back is Bryce Love from Stanford. And so far through the 5 games, he has 1,088 yards rushing.
And he beat Christian McCaffrey's record this past week. I think it was for most rushing yards in a game.
Wow. Okay. And it says only 5 players have ever had more yards in the same time span of 5 games.
Wow.
So he's definitely made quite a name for himself, knocking out, like I said, Sam Darnold. The only other one at least from the beginning of this year's Heisman hopefuls that is still in this list besides Lamar and Sam Darnold is Sam Darnold's out. The only other one is Baker Mayfield, which is the quarterback for Oklahoma. And they had this week off, but they're going into a game against Ohio State this weekend before their big showdown against Texas.
Okay. They're playing Oklahoma State this week, right?
Iowa State.
Iowa State. Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
I don't know if I said the wrong thing. But, yeah.
But yeah, man. Top 5 Heisman hopefuls
And
there.
My number one is Saquon Barkley, the running back from Penn State.
Right.
Still at number 1 from last week, I believe. So not only did he jump into the Heisman hopefuls list, now he's remained at number 1 for 2 weeks straight.
That's good. I mean, I think he's a clear-cut favorite right now. You still got Baker Mayfield in there too. But I got to make a correction. I said Wisconsin in October has Ohio State and Michigan coming up. Actually, I meant to say that for Penn State.
Okay.
So that's going to give them. We're going to see what kind of performance that Saquon Barkley can have against those 2 big power schools, and having them in the course of October could really make or break Penn State's season. Now, we do know Penn State won the Big Ten last year. A lot of people feel they got snubbed by missing the college football playoff, but going up against Michigan and Ohio State's going to set the bar really high for them, and we'll get to see what Saquon Barkley can do against those teams. We do know Ohio State already with 1 loss on their record. Michigan is yet to lose. So Ohio State, I think, can ill afford to lose another game, because if they do, that's really going to push them behind the 8 ball than trying to come back up to make the college football playoff.
Right.
So we'll just have to see how those games pan out later in the month. So that's going to conclude this segment of college football here. We went over everything that happened this week in sports. Just for the sake of time, we'll revisit this next week and give you some of the big matchups going into this week, possibly in other sports later. Do it throughout the podcast to let you know what to watch for, and then we'll revisit it next week as well. But coming up next, we're getting ready to get into the WWE. Good old wrestling, as CJ likes to say, Monday Night Raw. Smackdown Live coming up on Sports Moods. 2 Moodies.
1 Duty.
Sports.
We'll be right back. What is going on, world? We are back. I am C Moody, here as always with
D Moody.
We are Sports Moves, two Moodies.
One duty.
Sports. And we've already recapped NFL Week 4. Our predictions and what's been going on in the NFL world, as well as college sports this past weekend, Week 5 in college sports, as well as big matchups, the rankings for so far this week, and of course the Heisman hopefuls. Now, we're going to get into some good old WWE, starting off with Monday Night Raw. Then we're going to dive into Smackdown Live as we prepare for the Smackdown exclusive pay-per-view, Hell in a Cell. But we're going to kick off with this week's Monday Night Raw and how it happened, how it all unraveled. Of course, they all did their tribute to those who were attacked this weekend at the concert at Las Vegas by the shooter. So they all did have both shows, a unanimous moment of silence at the beginning of their shows for it. But besides that, we dove into the first match, which was Seth Rollins against Braun Strowman. And to me, I felt like Seth Rollins had a better matchup against him than Dean Ambrose. Felt like Dean Ambrose was more of a Braun Strowman demolishing him, but Dean Ambrose showing he can stay and withstand. But Seth Rollins actually looked like he had good offense against him at certain times. Some of the key points in this match was Seth trying to do a suicide dive, and Braun Strowman catches him in the mouth with the right hand, and Rollins just rolls and slides out the ring. And I love Seth Rollins because he knows how to sell a move. Like, anytime somebody hits a big surprise move on Seth, it's like his body just collapses. Mm-hmm. And I love that about Seth Rollins. And like I said earlier, it seemed like it was a closer fight than Dean Ambrose's was last week. But go ahead. No, go ahead.
I didn't mean to cut you off there, but I think with Seth, Seth is a little bit more athletic than Dean.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
He can make a match, more enjoyable to watch just because of his ability to do certain things in the ring. He did make this look. He had Strowman looking vulnerable a couple times in the matchup, but obviously, he had some good string of momentum. It was just like Strowman just, ended it toward the end.
Yeah, it pretty much Strowman just had to stop the whole thing because, like I said, Rollins was having a good little rally on him. But then what happened after the match? Braun Strowman decided to hit a second power slam on him, and Dean comes out to help, and it looks like he's starting to get a little advantage on Braun, but then he runs into a choke slam in which Braun picks him up off the ground into a second choke slam and then do a power slam. Mm-hmm. And then after that, Sheamus and Cesaro decides to come out and they do their finishers, a neutralizer to Dean Ambrose, and then Sheamus hitting the bro kick on Seth. So that's also showing that, their tag team feud is not done, and that's probably going to be the matchup going into their next pay-per-view 3 weeks away. I think it's TLC. Mm-hmm. So, which I'm pretty sure that is going to be an actual tables, ladders, and chairs match.
Looks like Cesaro opened his mouth this week, though.
He did, but I think he had a
mouthpiece in there. Yeah, he's pulling the Nakamura on us.
Yeah, he's going to have to for a couple of weeks, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. But that was how that match went. Before we went to the next match, they had a nice little skit going in the backstage where Mickie James goes into her room to see that Alexa Bliss gifted her some Depends, a box of Depends, and a walker. And what made the walker so funny is she already had the tennis balls on the bottom of the walker. Hilarious. Man. And that was a shot at Mickie James saying that Alexa Bliss was a child still wearing the training bra last week, which was a hilarious line.
Yeah, it was.
So, man, when Mickie went to confront her, Nia Jax, which that bond still confuses me so much, was at the door in front of Alexa Bliss, and basically they pushed off the Alexa fighting Mickie to say, well, Nia wants to fight, and that set up a match between Nia and Mickie James later on. And then they had in between, after that, another quick little promo in between the next match was Bray Wyatt just was sitting in the rocking chair, just kind of saying that, everyone lied to me. He's starting to, it's almost like he's starting to unravel as his character. which it explains itself later on. But I like where this is going. But the next match would be Elias Sampson finally getting at Titus O'Neil, with Apollo Crews this time being the person at the ringside. But this match put me in a very bad mood, because honestly, if you looked at just the pattern of how the match went, besides the difference in skill sets between Titus and Apollo, the match went almost the exact same way as when Apollo fought Elias the last 2 weeks, because it ended with somebody throwing Elias outside the ring, he having a confrontation with whoever's at the ringside. Somehow that makes a distraction for Elias coming into the ring, and then leads to Elias winning the match. And then Elias looks like he wants to do more, and then the other person comes in to stop it. So that one it was really disappointing. I don't know what they're doing with this feud. But now it seems like it's just a filler all around. Like, I felt like there was some hope in having this feud between Titus O'Neil versus Elias. But seeing how they had no effort in being creative with this match, it was just depressing to me.
Yeah, and then you said you thought it was going to come to this with them fighting each other, because how they were getting confrontational with each other over the past couple of weeks. But I mean, I don't know why Elias is even in a feud with these two.
Yeah,
like you said, it does feel like it's a filler type thing. I mean, Elias is a good talent, and I don't think they need to underuse him the way that they have the past couple of weeks with these two guys. I mean, I would probably like to see more of Apollo Crews than Titus O'Neil because of his skill set in the ring.
Exactly, his athleticism is
just
amazing.
The whole thing of what they're doing with this doesn't have my attention whatsoever. Definitely a bad move for me too.
It's really depressing. There's no enthusiasm about these. Definitely two great athletes, and then Titus being kind of still a good athlete. Still, just by his size, should make him more of a heavyweight contender. But seeing how they pretty much WWE, especially Raw, just has their own set people to even try for the championship. There's no opportune chance for anybody else besides Roman Reigns, Braun Strowman, Samoa Joe now, John Cena when he wants to, and honestly, that's it. That's pretty much that. Those 3 and 4 when John Cena wants to come are the only people who have any opportunity of trying to get that top championship belt, which Brock Lesnar has. And then on top of that, which we always talk about, is depressing to see in its own right, because we have a champion at Raw that's never there. And from the looks of it and what I've heard from Wrestle Talk TV, there's possibly going to be a chance that he's not even appearing at the next Raw pay-per-view in itself. So that's just...
he's not going to be at TLC.
Yeah, so that's
There's not going to be a Universal Championship match. He's probably not going to come back to around Royal Rumble.
That's ridiculous. So that means he's going to miss that, and then he's going to miss Survivor Series. So
now, they may bring him back around then. It could be slim chance, but I'm hearing Royal Rumble.
That's horrible. That's horrible booking. And it's really just that them so dependent on Brock Lesnar, which, I mean, I understand the appeal he gets when he's there, but he doesn't have to have the championship. Like, he can still...
His
presence
alone is just going
to... Exactly. Let him be what Braun Strowman has been. Like, when Braun Strowman comes out, we know his presence is the dominance. He's going to destroy something. But, I mean, for months, when Braun Strowman was doing that, it wasn't with the title contention in mind. It was just Braun was going to destroy somebody. Let Brock do that. And, Brock makes good feuds with anybody just by him coming out in his presence. But the fact that he's never there just really stains this whole title for me.
It does, because we've already been through this earlier this year. I mean, we saw when he beat Goldberg at WrestleMania, and then he was out until, like, Great Balls of Fire was, like, his first title defense.
Exactly.
That was, like, in July.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he was gone for 2 months then, and then comes back for 3 months and gone another 3. So...
Even with Goldberg having the title and the last feud, I mean, Goldberg was still there more than Brock Lesnar is now. So it's really just bad. It's just bad all around. but going back into Monday Night Raw, the match that was, kind of foreshadowed earlier, Nia Jax versus Mickie James, finally happened with Alexa Bliss coming down at ringside. Once again, I still don't like how this relationship is between Nia and Alexa, because it's like Alexa disregards, it's obvious she's using Nia as a defense. But, then Nia turns on her to show she wants a championship. After they lose, she loses her chance. Now they're best friends again. So I think it more pinpoints on the fact that they have a real life friendship. Mm-hmm. But I mean, it's just how they're not really
in and out a lot.
Yeah, they're not really creative with how it is in the actual show. But I mean, honestly, of course, Nia Jax pretty much dominated. Mickie James has some good parts here and there, and she almost won with a tornado DDT off the top rope. But then Alexa interfered, and she tries to fight off, Alexa. And she does finish Alexa Bliss with one of her little kicks. I don't know if that's her finisher now. It's like not really a super kick, more like a roundhouse kick kind of situation.
Mickie James. It's called a mid kick.
That's what is that really what it's called? Mm-hmm. Wow.
She's been doing that for years. That's been her finisher. That's her.
Really?
Yeah, the mid kick.
It's another simple move.
yeah.
It is not as dramatic as the super kick. It's just like, hey.
It's like she does it forward instead of like the super kick. You kind of, side swipe kick, but she just stands in front of you and just lifts her legs up and clocks you over the back of your head, and you just you're out.
Yeah. But. And then in doing that, we found out that Kurt Angle's giving Mickie James a women's championship match. So now we're getting the 1-on-1 match that we
finally
know.
All these fatal 4-ways and 5 ways.
Right.
It's over finally.
So we finally get a 1-on-1 at the next TLC, like I said, in 3 weeks from now. And then backstage, they cut into an Enzo promo, which I didn't know. I saw something about it on social media, but I didn't really see it until they showed it on Raw, which they showed that after Neville did his 450 splash and left him in the ring, Braun Strowman comes out and power slams Enzo Amore.
I didn't know
for
that.
No reason. Yeah.
At the end of the match?
They showed it
after Raw went out?
After Raw cut off, Braun Strowman comes down the ring while Enzo's trying to like get up and show he still got the belt. Power slams him. And then Braun Strowman goes out the rings and tells the Cruiserweight division, it's like, y'all want him? Come get him. And he walks out, and every Cruiserweight either punches him, super kicks him, or do their finisher. So
why did they show?
I don't know. I don't know why they didn't show that, because I felt like that would have been a very good segment.
Yeah.
So
because then it made more sense going into what they did this week.
Exactly. Because even when I saw the social media thing of what Braun Strowman coming, I saw it before I watched Raw. So I thought I was going to see that at the end. But I mean, I still like what Neville did, but I was like, they could have done more. But seeing that they did it and didn't air it didn't make sense. Yeah. But backstage they interviewed him about it, and he was just kind of had like a distant and distraught little stare into the outside and didn't say anything. This is like the first time we actually get Enzo Amore and not saying anything.
What?
So yeah, that's what I said.
That's shocking.
So I thought maybe this was like going to give him a change of heart or something. I had no idea. But then they go into the tag team, which is now Matt Hardy and Jason Jordan versus Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson. Because we know Jeff, they actually said it that night, Jeff is currently in surgery for his shoulder. And if there's going to be like a torn rotator cuff, whatever Finn Balor's injury was, so he's going to be out for a good while, which is very sad, in the cusp of them trying to work on the broken gimmick and bringing it to Raw and everything. And which has actually heard some talks that off of Wrestle Talk TV on YouTube that WWE is actually, if not trying to buy TNA, like the entity itself, they're trying to at least get claims for the library. So that, because now WWE has a lot of people that came from TNA. Even Kurt Angle had a time in TNA. We have AJ Styles,
Bobby Roode
was in TNA. So it's a good bit of people that came from TNA there. So he not only did they want that, and then of course we know Matt and Jeff Hardy had the broken gimmick started there, so they can get a lot of claims if they were to buy that part of TNA out, which is now Global Force. Well, it was Global Force. the owners of it is called Anthem Sports, and they're kind of buying themselves out of it. 'Cause I think GFW had some kind of legal issues, so it's a whole situation going on. But that's the possibilities that could come out of it for WWE and the Hardy Boys. But the match itself, it was a decent match. You're starting to see more chemistry between Matt and Jason Jordan. But it still ended with Carl Anderson taking out Jason Jordan outside, throwing him into the ramps into the audience, and they come in the ring and hit the little magic legend killer on Matt Hardy, and they get the win.
I just really feel they should be feuding with the Shield right now.
Luke Gallows. I mean, they don't have a spot for them yet.
They should.
They definitely
Sheamus
should.
and Cesaro, this is over. They beat them twice. They beat them for the tag titles, and they successfully defended it against Sheamus and Cesaro. So move on to a new tag team.
But you see what they're doing.
Gallows and Anderson.
But you see what they're doing at Smackdown with New Day and Usos. Like, it's never ending.
I mean, that's a better rivalry than the Sheamus and Cesaro versus Rollins and
too.
Ambrose.
That's true too.
That is like a really good rivalry. So I would love to see that as many times as I can. But I just feel like here with Gallows and Anderson, why were they hanging around during the whole Sheamus and Cesaro thing right before No Mercy? And now it's just,
Yeah, definitely.
They should definitely have them feuding with Rollins and Ambrose over Sheamus and Cesaro right now. That's just my opinion because, my theory could be Balor versus Reigns right now.
But now they're having, which we'll get into that, Finn's last little spout with Bray Wyatt. And something else I was thinking of too, which will also help with this whole 3-man faction that we're starting to kind of build and talks about. I think when the Hardys kind of develop their broken gimmick, somehow they break Jason Jordan into it. Because I think now the fans are starting to get over Jason Jordan just kind of being a commoner playing with Matt Hardy versus them trying to over promote him. Mm-hmm. So I think if Matt breaks him in, like make him a broken person, whenever they finally get to acquire that gimmick in the WWE, I think that'll really push him over, at least in its own right.
It could. I can see that possibly happening.
And that'll also keep them relevant when they do, if they grow this 3-man faction as much as I hope that they grow it. Because like I said, there's still the possibility. Because it would suck for them to bring the Shield back just to do the Miz and Sheamus and Cesaro now, which is what it is now. We'll get on later. And then not take the advantage of getting, like you said, the Finn Balor and Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows, which was the Bullet Club in overseas. Mm-hmm. So, and then, like I said, I'll add another 3-man with the Hardy Boys and Jason Jordan. But that's just an idea, and I hope they.
But then now that you say that, hearing that out loud, I think Jason Jordan would fit too well with the Hardys. I think just him and Jeff need to have that broken gimmick going on.
I mean, I believe that, but I'm saying if they do grow the 3-man faction idea, that's who I would. Just because they're using him now to grow with Matt. Like, I feel like until Jeff comes back, that's going to be their tag.
He might break him into it though. He could.
Yeah, because it doesn't seem like they're going to give Matt his own singles thing. They're going to push him into this tag team situation. So I feel like they're going to keep the idea of Jason Jordan and Matt together at least halfway until Jeff comes back. Mm-hmm. So the next match is finally The Miz with the Miztourage versus Roman Reigns for the Intercontinental Championship. And when I saw this happen, I thought of you immediately because I thought of how you were like, the Miztourage is not any caliber of what the Shield is, so this shouldn't be the feud. I feel like somehow somebody in WWE heard your cry.
Yes.
And immediately before the match started, Roman Reigns took out the Miztourage and relentlessly beat them with the chairs at the top of the.
I saw it, and I was glad. I was very glad of it. I mean, I'm not a big Roman Reigns person. He's okay to me. But I was glad he did that to them.
Yeah, because it does make them.
Can you give me some applause on that?
Yeah.
I think, Good job, Roman Reigns.
That's the big dog.
Good job, Roman Reigns. The puppy.
Come on, man.
Vince McMahon's little puppy.
Okay, I respect that. I can't say too much against that. But like I said, he did take out the Mr. Raj. But the sad thing is for me, that's going to definitely push Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel way back.
That's why they should have left that alone. They should have never intertwined the Miz and Reigns and all of this. It should have been. Well, I guess they really had no other choice because there's really, with Joe out, Brock is gone, Cena's gone, Strowman. I mean, you don't want to put Strowman back to,
which is weird to me,
Reigns again.
Because where does it put Strowman? Because Strowman just beat Seth and Dean, so it's like,
I don't know what they're doing. Where does he go?
That?
Who's going to be his opponent?
Yeah,
so it's like so many question marks right now on Monday Night Raw. So it's just like, I just don't think the Miz should be intertwined with Roman Reigns right now. I know he needs something to do until he fights Brock at WrestleMania for Roman Reigns. That's why I felt like him and Finn Balor would be a much bigger seller than what him and The Miz would be. Now, The Miz is good on the mic. He's more the heel person, so he can get a rivalry through.
Right.
You know, Finn, you know, he's better in the ring than he is on the mic, but I just really believe that's the feud we should be seeing right now. Yeah. Like Roman Reigns feels like, hey, I'm the guy, and Finn Balor's like, I'm supposed to be the guy, you know. And then they both have even the score against each other. They both have pinfall over each other, and then you have them feuded out to see who's the better person. And then that's when you get those boys, Gallows and Andersons, in Finn's ear, like, man, like they, you know. He's got your spotlight where you're supposed to be, you know, and going on with it like that.
Yeah.
And then Anderson and Gallows keep sticking their nose in the business of Finn Balor, and then that's what makes Seth and Dean come like, hey, you know, and then do it like that. TLC, that would be an epic match at TLC.
It would be. But like I said, it had to be The Miz because it was forced. Like, even when The Miz first took the shot on Miz TV with Roman Reigns and was like, you know, the Shield is nothing compared to them. Like, even initially, Roman was like, well, they're doing their own thing, I'm doing mine.
He did say that. Yeah.
So now The Miz was doing stuff to push the idea, like we're gonna mock the Shield. Like, I don't see Finn with Gallows and Anderson mocking the Shield, even if they were to jump Roman Reigns. So it wouldn't have really. It would have, of course, it would have sparked the idea of 3-man beating up one. Let's get the other two to make it 3-on-3. But it wouldn't have been such a push to directly call out the Shield as what the Miz has done. So that's why it had to be The Miz, because, like you said, his mic skills are going to provoke anything, you know. So even though I do agree the Finn Balor and the Bullet Club would be a lot better of a rivalry to see with the Shield than whatever this is, just 3 random guys put together now.
Because now it looks like they're integrating Sheamus and Cesaro to replace.
That's what it looks like.
The Miz Siraj.
Yeah. So
they can't uphold that right. Like I said, if you're gonna have them fight, the Shield come back, it's got to be meaningful people.
Right. So let me explain the rest of the match so we can finally tell you what we're talking about. So when the match starts, of course, you know, it's a pretty good match. It's going back and forth. You know, first the Miz is trying to kind of course, weasel his way around stuff, but then it actually gets into a good match. And the Miz, honestly, I miss the days when he was rivaling with John Cena, because like that was when the Miz was a real good wrestler, not trying to be like taking advantage or doing sneak shots. It was just like, I'm a real good fighter. And I actually saw a couple of shades in that in this match at a couple of points. But before, you know, anything was like actually called, like anybody winning, Sheamus and Cesaro comes out of nowhere and attacks Roman Reigns for disqualification. And so now it's Sheamus, Cesaro, and The Miz all jumping on Reigns. They pick him up. They hit Roman Reigns with Cesaro's neutralizer, Sheamus' brogue kick, The Miz's skull crushing finale, and then they leave. And then this time, not only are they going to come back to attack him again, they're going to come back on all 3 sides of the ring, like the Shield, slowly come into the ring, then beat him up again, and then finally pick him up and do the whole Shield signature powerbomb. With The Miz even actually trying to do the yell like Roman Reigns, which was hilarious to me. And then,
is a trip.
Yeah, he is a trip, definitely. And then again, they do the Shield fist, but this time, because it's Sheamus and Cesaro, they have their little bar thumbs out in the mix of the Miz thingy. So now, that part made it seem like the Miz was joining them, just because of the bar on both sides and the Miz in the middle. But it still makes it look like the Miz is the mind person, and it's going to be, like you said, a revamped and stronger Miztourage.
Yeah, because he wasn't going to do it with Bo and
no,
and
couldn't
have. That wasn't going to happen. So this is a teeny weeny bit, tiny bit better, but I'm still not really invested in this as I should be. As a wrestling fan, I should be like on the edge of my seat, like, oh my God, the Shield is coming back. It's going to be an epic. But it's just the Miz, Sheamus, and Cesaro. Like,
but that's a good squad.
It's a good fight. It's going to be a good fight. They're going to put on a great show. But I just feel I guess I'm so closed-minded because I want to see what I want to see. I want to see the club, and I want to see the Shield. So
no, I
it's better than having Dallas and Axel there for sure.
Exactly,
much better because that's not believable to me. The Shield shouldn't have to join forces to beat up all three of them.
Right.
So maybe that's why they heard my cry.
They did,
and they said maybe we could throw Sheamus and Cesaro into this.
So if WWE, if it wasn't for anybody else, I thank you for hearing my brother D Moody's cry to not make it the entire Miztourage being Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel.
It's not believable with them two, in the mix of it.
So after
they
this,
might interfere, to help, but I still feel like them being in it as the guys they're going up against Roman.
Ooh, so here's the idea. So what if they still keep Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel into this? So once they actually have their little 3-on-3, they, like you said, they come in and interfere. So now it's a 5-on-3. Who can the Shield get to add on to the Shield? Or do you think that they would just try to fight them 5-on-3?
I think they'll do 5-on-3 because they can handle Dallas and Axel. That's like 4-on-3. So you put half of Axel and half of Dallas together, that's just one person.
I still would rather see somebody. I just want the Shield to grow.
Maybe Jordan and
Matt
may come down to heaven. I don't know.
I don't like that.
The two people that would make sense
that
because
would.
They've
feuded
with them before. So
yeah.
But that's just too many people at that point. You know how I get when it's all these people, all these.
But I like when it's kind of a
5-on-5 stuff.
I think because I'm so really hyped and attached to just the DX and the NWO. It was just, but that was the beauty of it. But it was so many.
Now you can't do that now.
You should be, man. If you see a good 5-6 gang style fashion team on WWE again, you would love it when you see it.
I guess I've been so used to not seeing it since the 90s.
And then the
early 2000s. It's just.
And then the red and black NWO. Oh my goodness!
I did like that. Can you think about it? You had the red and black NWO. You had the black and white. Then you had
DX,
and then you forget about the WCW2. You had Raven and his flock.
Oh yeah.
You had the LWO with Eddie Guerrero. Remember them?
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, the little cruiserweights or whatever.
See,
he had with them.
Look at all these teams, man.
4 Horsemen.
Yeah.
I just think you can't do it now.
You should be, man.
3 is enough.
But see, now it would make more sense when we cycle these same 4 people. Like you said, just seeing Titus O'Neil Titus O'Neil, Apollo Crews, and Elias is just repetitive. Especially the style is repetitive. But if we were to put them all on a different team, like Apollo Crews and Titus O'Neil with the Shield and Elias Sampson with the Sheamus and Cesaro family.
Oh, look at that! Can't even hit it. No.
Okay.
Can't do it.
All right. I'm going back to the.
It's too much. It's too many people. It's like this is why we shouldn't have to be trying to come up with ideas for the WWE to put on a relevant show.
We shouldn't. Definitely.
There's so many gaps right now. And that's what makes all this so frustrating. Because I don't know if you've noticed over the past couple weeks, when we talk about Raw, it's just like the excitement's gone.
Yeah. If you can see D Moody, he's totally in the back of the chair, just like
just slouched down like this is not the high point of the podcast for me because of how bad the booking is and what they're doing on this show, and they feed you this garbage every week and expect for you to be excited about it because they're halfway putting together stuff. They're just
that's true.
Pulling people and just throwing them together and let's try this week. Oh, you know what? Let's throw them here this week. It's just like it's not working for me.
And see, for me, I thrive off of what could be. Like I'm too optimistic, like because now I'm just excited about the Shield coming back.
Yeah, so that's why you're kind of emotionally attached to it because, and I'm glad the Shield's back too. But I feel like if you're gonna bring the Shield back, bring them back for something meaningful.
But Sheamus and Cesaro is a great team.
They're not that meaningful. They're not a great team.
They are a great team.
It's grown on me from when it's better than seeing them fight each other every week, like we saw when Mick Foley was the GM, and then he gave the idea for them to come together. They have progressed as a tag team, but it's just like the Shield. I just don't want to see the Shield come back and fight Sheamus and Cesaro. I want to see them fight a team that they've never fought before. That's a big faction type team, maybe in another wrestling organization like the club, or another faction from the old days come back or something.
But think about this:
how they did with Evolution or something like that.
When the Shield was heels, they were always singling out and beating up one person, and then it got to the point where there was like enough of those single persons like, hey, we need to team up to bat them off. So then we saw like just teams grouped together, solely bonded off of the fact that they've all been beaten up. But this is actual like Sheamus and Cesaro are actual tag champions. And now the Miz part is kind of a weird mix into it.
That's the thing that's throwing it all off.
But the Miz has his purpose now because of Roman Reigns. He's trash talked Roman Reigns enough. He's trash talked the Shield enough to say that if I could get somebody better than the Shield, when it was Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel. So, and now they've actually, like you said, they've gotten smarter and got Sheamus and Cesaro. So to me, which I mean, it's not a complete team, not like the Shield is, but it's actually something I want to see because I like Cesaro. Yeah, that's their tag team.
Cesaro,
one of
however you want to call it.
Versus Seth and Dean because they've been doing that so far in the tag team. The Miz and Roman Reigns. I mean, that's the only mismatch I see is the Miz and Roman Reigns, which I could even throw that around and make it Sheamus versus Roman Reigns because even though they're not booking Sheamus as strong as they're booking Roman, to me that they seem like an even match.
He's the strongest one of the three.
Exactly.
And then you see the Miz has already had his battles with Dean Ambrose.
Exactly.
And then
so
Rollins and Sheamus.
That's why I don't see Miz at that same level because, like you said, for the longest we've been seeing Miz versus Dean, and that's not the muscle of the Shield, so he shouldn't be the muscle of this faction.
You're right.
So,
but I'm just Monday Night Raw right now for me is just.
All right. Well,
I don't care. I just don't.
Okay. All right. Well, let me finish. We're going to hurry up and get out of Monday Night Raw then. So now, Finn Balor comes in to do his promo. He calls out Bray Wyatt for losing to the Demon King and losing to the Man. So now for him just still taunting him makes him a coward. So then Bray Wyatt finally he doesn't come out. He's on the whole screen again. But now he warns him that, first he does the whole thing which he alluded to earlier. It's like, everyone, you lied to me about whatever it is. So, just weird kind of talking. And then he was like, you faked who you really were and all this stuff. So now I'm going to show you who I really am. And he was like, Abigail lives again. And he was like, he's warning him. He was like, bring the Demon King. And I'm going to show you who I am. And so when he finally laughs off, it's like they kind of affected his face to make it look like it was like a darkish eyes. It looked like hair over his face, but still eyes kind of look present. So it looks like they're going to make him have a character change now, so he can be Sister Abigail, which is kind of weird when you say it. Like Bray's about to be Sister Abigail, but that's the demon spirit thing he's alluding to, right? So it's kind of, I feel like he needs to have a better thing because like him channeling Sister Abigail sounds, like I said, sounds really weird to me.
Unless they have somebody to play Sister Abigail, like walking him down to the ring, or as his like. Which
I didn't get to watch it, but I saw a picture of it on one of Wrestle Talk's thumbnails for their videos, and it kind of alludes to someone else who's been getting themselves prepared to make a WWE return that they could use to be Sister Abigail, and it's Paige.
Could be.
That'll be something to watch.
Yeah, could be, and she probably could be like the person that kind of controls Bray, kind of has Bray on the, the person behind the scenes pulling the strings on him, telling him what to do.
That's the Sister Abigail. Yeah. I would like if they did that instead of trying to make Bray something. I mean, of course, they're going to make him look even more demonic or whatever it is. But like I said, just the whole Sister Abigail thing is kind of a weird persona to channel. Mm-hmm. Even though I get the
only thing we really got with Sister Abigail was the rocking chair.
Right.
And remember, Randy Orton destroyed the rocking chair.
And then burned whatever.
So it was just like...
That's it.
So I'm anxious to kind of see where this is going.
But
I am tired of the Balor Bray Wyatt feud.
But this is... Go ahead.
Go ahead. I know you're going to defend Monday Night Raw. You're a big fan of Monday Night Raw right now.
Well, just because like I said, I was tired too, but I'm glad that they're doing this because now it's almost like they're bringing another character into it now. It is. It really is. And then remember, like you said, when Bray kind of burned the house or whatever down, Bray Wyatt went amongst the ashes and like he put the dirt over himself and was like,
it could be that she's like
infused in him. So that was the illusion for that. Into this part, he's like, you know what? Geez. I'm finally.
I'm sorry. I can't. This is too much. Man. I just can't get invested in this. C Moody. I'm sorry.
I'm getting so.
The WWE is I like. It's intriguing. It is in a way. To give us another Bray Wyatt, because I'm anxious to see what Bray Wyatt's going to evolve into.
Yeah,
and that does have my attention on that. For the sake of seeing him fight Finn Balor again. So basically, if he beats Finn Balor this time, they end in a tie.
No, I think
Balor's beaten him twice.
They have to fight
once as the Demon, once as Finn, 2-1. And then if Bray comes back and wins, it ties it up, which means they can't leave it. Tied,
they have to
gotta fight again.
But now I want to see it now.
5 matches between these two over 3 or 4 months.
I want to see it now.
I don't want to see it.
But look, what if the performance is totally different once he becomes this?
What is he gonna do different?
I don't know. Maybe he starts jumping off the ring more.
Man? What you gonna do, man? Bray Wyatt, man.
Yeah.
He gonna do the same thing where he.
What if he does it off like the top rope or something? Like
nothing's gonna change.
He's gonna jump.
Said it's not gonna change. It's just gonna be a different attire. Finn Balor is the same person, just with paint on his face. He does the same stuff.
I feel like I don't know. It's like when
he just crawls to the ring and does the little.
No,
thing,
I feel like it's different when he's the Demon.
No, he does the same stuff.
Because even when he fought Bray Wyatt as the Demon King. I remember Bray doing a move and he knocked him down, and Finn just jumped up, like he just jumped up and stood there, kind of like ominous, like it didn't hurt. Like now what? Like Finn Balor doesn't do that in Finn state. So to see that kind of reluctance to injury or to to like hurt and stuff like that, it kind of makes me more excited because it's like, oh shoot, that Demon, he done got.
Can we move on?
Okay. All right.
Because
All right.
I can't get into it.
So next on Monday Night Raw, because I know we went totally all the way away from Raw in a sense, but it all made sense to the storyline. Now we're into just another throwaway match in the women's division, the tag team match with Sasha Banks and Bayley versus Emma and Alicia Fox.
You see how they just brought her back from the dead?
They really did.
Where was she the last month or so?
Yeah, I don't know what made them just bring back Alicia Fox now. I guess
Diller.
It's the add on to
what it's called.
This is what it's doing. It's adding on to that list in the women's division that Asuka has to go through.
Asuka don't even deserve to go through them.
But that's what
she deserves to fight.
Those are
possibly Bayley, Bliss, Banks, and
Jax. Those are the start off.
She's
as dominant as she is. It's gonna be like Braun Strowman when he had to throw away the squash matches against James Ellsworth before he was relevant and stuff like that. And this is Alicia Fox is gonna be James Ellsworth. She's gonna be the person that she's gonna try and be crazy in front of it. Yeah. Her and Emma is going to be the two main ones. It's going to start off with Alicia Fox, then Emma, then I don't know because they're pushing Mickie James so hard right now. I don't know what they're going to do with that. They got to give her
something to do.
Yeah.
And I really believe it's her. It could be her like, hey, you guys brought me back to just sit on your roster and not do anything.
Yeah.
If you're not giving me anything to do, then I don't need to be.
But maybe, I might like Mickie James being at the top when Asuka comes in.
Asuka destroy her.
I don't know, man.
I'll tell you who should be there.
Who? Nia?
Nia.
They're not going to let her. Like, Nia's going to be the person right before the champion just because Nia's just as big as she is. Like, I want that, but we see with Braun Strowman, they're not
for her to win the belt though.
I know.
I don't see an epic win over her over Bliss. I see it more over Nia Jax. Now we've seen people beat Nia Jax. It's not like Nia Jax is unbeatable. Really, Sasha Banks has really had the most success against Jax. So it's got to be a big woman superstar for her to beat, and I think it's either going to have to be Sasha Banks or Nia Jax. Either one of those two, it's got to be the last person she beats to win the belt.
I don't know, man. Just because I've seen how Mickie James is playing now, I'm sorry.
They're starting
to build Mickie James up to me wanting to see that. I don't think it's the best fight.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely would feel like I would rather see Asuka fight Nia Jax at the end to win the belt, but they're not going to do that. Just like they won't give Braun Strowman a title right now, which is
creativeness.
Yeah,
that's to do what the people want.
Yeah, they definitely don't care about that.
It's just pay attention to your fan base and what people, suggest and what they want to see.
Exactly.
WWE doesn't do that.
So, but anyway, so that's that match. Eventually, because I think Sasha knocks Alicia Fox into Emma, so Emma abandons Alicia Fox while she tries to tag her, and then that just kind of turns her around into a Bayley bomb, and then they get the win. Just simple match, which is kind of a waste for two of the used to be top tier women, being Sasha Banks and Bayley, but that's what they do at the women's division, and it ends once again with Enzo Amore coming to the ring to address the cruiserweight division again. So, like I said, I thought he was going to kind of stall out someone, his blank stare in the background, but he became the same Enzo. And he told the entire cruiserweight division to, quote-unquote, go to hell. And the supporters. He said that, and which is true, that he put the cruiserweight division in the main event spot for 2 weeks straight. He deserves his championship. He makes more money than the division and some of the fans. And wow. he tells the division is already the division is out of a title shot because they all broke the clause, like they showed that what happened after Raw. And so the division comes out again, and he has another clause that this time if somebody touches him, they're fired. Like this time if you do it, like you're getting out of here. And he decides to rip the entire division. Like he has a shot and a roast for each person, except for Tozawa. He was like, you know what? You like me on Instagram. I'm not gonna say that to you this week. But you Neville, that's when he ended it with Neville. And it was like, bro, like it was actually pretty funny how he ripped the entire.
But what's getting me is all these clauses, dude. You talk all this trash, but then you don't want to see nobody off the hands.
So I like that.
You like the protection.
I like that, but it's almost like how they kind of. Well, no, that's not like how they did Kevin. It reminds me more of the Miz, kind of like the Miz talked all that trash.
But then I don't want nobody to be able to retaliate.
Yeah, don't really come at me right now because I'm not ready. I don't want to fight right now.
Yeah, like you gonna sit here and disrespect me and say all this negative stuff to me, but then when I come to it, I can't touch you.
Yeah. So Kurt Angle finally comes out and he's like, you're right, I did say it. But you know what? It doesn't matter to this new person I just added to the cruiserweight. And I thought it was going to
be actually a new person we never saw before.
I did too. But it comes out to be Kalisto.
And I was like, really? Monday Night Raw sucks.
Which I thought that was...
It was Kalisto. I thought this is a new cruiserweight. Maybe a cruiserweight from the past or somebody that is new that's going to bring.
Maybe Rey Mysterio comes back. But Rey Mysterio is too big to be 205 right now. Anyway.
Kalisto, really?
I mean,
like, it was like he should have been in the cruiserweight division to begin with.
Facts.
Why did you have him in the Titus brand anyway?
Facts.
No, he wasn't in Titus brand. He was fighting against them?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, he had a couple matches.
But I mean, he did win against.
I think
Braun
they wanted him
to
be in the Titus brand or something. He didn't ever want to join forces with him.
Yeah,
but I really thought it was gonna be somebody like when I saw Kalisto, I was like, "This is really closing out Monday Night Raw right here." Really. This is how we end a 3-hour show.
But you remember Kalisto was with the Luchas, like him and Sin Cara, so they were in title pictures. You know, when they had that good little fight over the Usos and stuff like that. So I guess that's what technically couldn't make him cruiserweight. But since they weren't using him, it kind of fit into the whole spiel of them saying that since all the cruiserweight beat up Enzo, none of them can touch him, so they need to add it somebody. So that was a good way to make Kalisto relevant again.
Don't take up for them because that was not good. I thought it was going to be somebody I never saw before or like anybody.
But it's good for Kalisto. He was irrelevant. He wasn't even on the show for like
irrelevant. The whole cruiserweight division is irrelevant.
But
Enzo's making this relevant a little bit by just who he is. But I mean, look how Neville dominated the cruiserweights like for months and months and months. The only person that gave him a run for his money was Austin Aries, and he's not even with WWE anymore. Mm-mm. So it's like. The cruiserweight division
they're just not using certain people because I think if anybody
they got good talent.
Tozawa, I thought Tozawa was awesome.
I do like that. I do like that about him. Man. I do like that. But other than him, it's just like, who do you have?
I will say this:
Ridge Swann is good. Yeah, he's really good in the ring. He is. Cedric Alexander.
But I just didn't like him. Like how you said you didn't like. Who is it that smiles too much? That I like, I forgot who it was. No, you remember when you said Bobby Roode smiled too much and Apollo Crews, the two people that smile too much. That's how I feel about Rich Swann. Like he does the dancing, like he's a good fighter, but then all of a sudden, like he starts dancing again. It's like, stop. So that was the one person, but I did like him in that span where he won the Cruiserweight Championship. I did like that.
Yeah, because Neville beat him to win the first one. Mm-hmm. And then they had Neville keep it for all that long time, and Tozawa beat him, and he got it right back.
Which was weird.
Enzo beat him.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's just like the Cruiserweight division is just like, why are these people on my TV in the third hour of the show? Get off of my TV. I don't care anything about this.
Believe in the Cruiserweights.
Don't they have their own show? Why are they on Raw? Put them on 205 Live where nobody watches.
Oh my gosh!
It's still not going to make me want to watch.
That's what makes you watch it because it's like that's the.
I was tempted to tune in last week, but I didn't. I said, you know what?
I might tune in tonight. Cause 205 was last night. Yeah, it comes on right after SmackDown. That's technically SmackDown's third hour. They just couldn't get it on USA. Technically, because it's 1 hour right after
Monday Night Raw. But 10. Go ahead.
No, because it's one last piece. Like after that, they had one last segment. Roman Reigns is in the back healing his wounds.
Hey Seth.
But that's the beauty of it.
Want to do?
They didn't say anything. Like he looked.
I know.
He looked. Dean comes in. They look at each other like yeah.
I like how Dean walked though. He was like, had his hands in his pocket. Yeah. Like, well, you know I'm here for you. If you
it is.
Like, all you got to do is say the word.
Right. And then Seth comes in and he
got his arms folded like, I'm down too.
Yeah. And then they just left again. And Rollins then Reigns kind of just looked like, oh, I know what I'm going to do next week. But you know what? What I really wanted to happen is because, like, I needed them to spar. I needed Reigns to spur with Rollins first, just like how Dean did.
Yeah, they got to have a spat. Like, hey, like, remember you turned on me. How do I know if I could trust you?
Right. Because, I mean, but I would like the dynamic of Dean being like, no, he's cool. Because it hurt Dean the most, but still it still got Reigns too. So, like, Reigns is trying to believe
it. He cashed in on to win the...
Exactly. So they should have had a bigger beef than the Dean thing. And Dean be like, no, he's cool, man. He's trying to fight for Rollins. And then, Reigns like, no. And then they maybe have a match or just fight one time. And then that's when they finally like, okay, I'm in. I like the idea, and then they finally become the Shield. I wish they did it that way, but now I'm just excited for the Shield. So I'm gonna totally do what the rest of the WWE universe is gonna do, is disregard that whole fact. Doesn't matter that, like you said, not only did Seth Rollins turn on the Shield, he definitely cashed in on Reigns' chance to win that WWE Championship in WrestleMania. Mm-hmm. So I wish they would have went that way, but it looks like we're not getting that. We're getting just the Shield.
It's uncreativeness. That's the word when I think of this whole thing.
But the Shield,
so uncreative. We get the Shield, but in an uncreative manner.
But you know what's funny? I don't, in a sense. I mean, the only difference between Roman Reigns' theme music and the Shield's is he doesn't do the walkie talk. Shield Delta.
I think they're going to come back with that. They probably will, and they'll probably start coming back through the crowd again too.
They do, but I want it to be a different theme now. Like now, I'm too used to that being just Roman Reigns, because now I feel like the Shield is coming out to Roman Reigns music, not the Shield again. Yeah. And even when they do put the Shield, Echo, something, Delta, Shield, like that part at the beginning, it's just going to be like, and Roman Reigns music.
Yeah, because they might change it up with the theme music. They might. But that's how you know the Shield as.
Yeah,
it's like if DX came out to a different theme song, like.
But none
of them use that as their own person.
Like Triple H didn't have DX when he came out by himself.
True, I guess so. But
that's my only problem I have now. The two problems I have, the Reigns and Rollins should have. Huh?
You should have more than two problems.
Not for the Shield itself. Now with the Shield's competition, yes. But for the Shield coming back, the only two problems I have is the Reigns and Rollins should have had their little spat and their little beef, and then they should have a different theme music. Those are the only two problems. Anything else? I'm glad the Shield's back. I'm glad the Shield's going to be back. And I can't wait to see them versus The Miz and Sheamus and Cesaro. But guys,
can I give my rating on Raw?
Oh yeah, give your rating. Your rating now. Oh gosh,
Monday Night Raw. 3 out of 10. It sucked. It was a bad show.
Wow,
it was terrible.
It was that bad, man.
Only part that really had me intrigued was the ending.
With the Reigns thing?
And then the Strowman Rollins match.
Yeah.
And then there's nothing else. Even the Intercontinental Championship match, I really wasn't.
Really?
Because I knew The Miz was going to keep the title. It wasn't like Reigns was going to win it.
I knew it, but I was still hyped about it.
I wasn't hyped about it.
Come on, but just be enthused. Like I knew Miz wasn't going to give up. That he wasn't going to lose tonight, but I was still like, man, this is,
give Finn Balor something to do. Give Braun Strowman something to do.
But
keep Titus O'Neil and Apollo Crews off my TV, and
where are they going to
go?
do
with the women's division, and have a sense of creativeness with your show is just not good. And even though the Shield's coming back, there's nothing else to hold your attention of this show other than that. It's nothing else. I mean, I'm sorry that you disagree with me, but it's not a good show. One, you don't have an active champion.
That's definitely true. That's definitely.
I really think it'd be a lot better if Joe was there, because then you have another feud with somebody else that could mean something.
It should be Joe and Strowman.
Yeah, maybe Joe and Strowman. I would like that a lot
because
better.
Those have been the last two people that actually gave.
Right, and that's what Strowman should have won the belt, and it should have been them two versus each other.
Should have, yeah.
Yeah, but Strowman's hurt. You can't fix that.
Joe's hurt some more.
Yeah, Joe's hurt. Yeah.
All right, so my rating for Raw, I'm not going to give it a 3 out of 10. I'm not. I'm giving it a 6 out of 10. And the reason I'm giving it a 6 because, like you said, I was truly horrified at how similar they made the Elias Titus match to both times Elias fought Titus O'Neil. That was truly disappointing to see. I didn't like the throwaway tag match for the women's division. The Matt Hardy Jason Jordan thing was okay. It wasn't great to me. But the good points, I like what they're doing. I like the feud with Mickie James and Alexa Bliss because I thought the gift of the Walker and the Pins was funny, and how they're leading into that title match. I thought that was good. I am actually enthused about seeing Bray Wyatt's new persona. which I hope, and I hope they paint him and change him up just as much as they do with Finn Balor. I really do. I don't care if they make him look like the Boogeyman when he comes out, like a new version of the Boogeyman. I don't care. Like I want to see what Bray Wyatt is going to be. Now I'm gonna be disappointed if they do all this hype and Bray Wyatt comes out looking the exact same. I'm gonna be pissed. I won't watch Raw for the next 2 weeks if they do that. But I don't think they're gonna do that. And of course, my high point is the Shield coming back, fighting Miz and Sheamus and Cesaro. And I still like Enzo Amore. I like this whole thing what Enzo's doing. Like, even though they didn't make him the babyface Eddie Guerrero kind of thing, I thought they was going to do. I like that he's just like this big trash talker that knows he's the reason that cruiserweight division is relevant. I don't necessarily like the fact that they just reusing somebody and saying that this is a new cruiserweight, even though technically he is. But I'm glad that Kalisto is back on air because I thought he was a really good athlete and wrestler. So you can roll your eyes, but Kalisto's a good wrestler.
Kalisto's a good wrestler, but I just like, it's like one of those things like, ta-da! It's like, oh.
It's the same thing.
It's the same thing. Like,
I mean, that point is true. That point is definitely true.
It's just Kalisto, everybody. Don't get excited.
So, man, this wraps up WWE Monday Night Raw. So, we're going to take a little bit of break. And when we come back, we're going to get into WWE Smackdown Live. We're going to have to get into it a little bit more in depth because they are leading into their own exclusive pay-per-view this Sunday, Hell in a Cell. So not only after we give, our recap of what happened on SmackDown Live, we're going to give our predictions on the matches that are going to be on the card for this Sunday. Then after that, we're going to finally dive into, in other sports, we got some baseball talk leading into the playoffs. We're going to get on to the WNBA Finals, the last game, which is going on right now. Some talk is the NBA, and then we're going to wrap it up with our Week 5 predictions in the NFL. This is Sports Moods, 2 Moodies.
1 Duty.
Sports. We'll be right back.